I delete you.
Hello, and welcome to the Saladcast on Sunday, February the 20th, 2022. I'm your host, Dan Train. Joining me today, Zachary Burgess.
Mostly.
And mostly Robert Kemp.
Which part did you leave behind?
A bunch of mucus, probably.
I guess that was a part of you once.
Yeah.
I don't want to think about all the parts of you that you've left behind.
Oh, that is no.
No.
But a lot of stuff just goes right through, though. That doesn't count.
That's true. It's not really it was never really a part of you. It was just on its way through.
Just a tourist, my colon.
But you've mostly made it to Rob's place.
I'm selling tickets to my colon. All fibre welcome.
All fibre.
All fibre.
Oh my god. There's a lot of fibre.
It's very difficult to buy all ran for some reason.
Really?
Is it?
Yeah.
It's just like what you mean, the cereal has just disappeared.
Yeah.
Like,
Kellogg's are the only people still making it, and they don't apparently supply enough.
It's the biggest maker of cereal in the world, right? Presumably.
And I don't like the Kellogg's version. I preferred the Tesco version when they still made it, but they stopped making it.
Huh.
Yeah, because all the different own brand, all brands, right? That's a bit of a tongue twister, isn't it?
I mean, Kellogg's All Bran is the brand name, right? But they have to be brand something else if they're like.
No, I think they're just all called.
Is All Bran allowed?
It's generic enough.
Okay.
But yeah, the Kellogg's version is too it absorbs the milk too fast. So you just end up with a bowl of mush.
It is quite mushy,
which is just not good. You need a little bit of salt. That's why I just have bran flakes now. They're slightly more solid.
Yeah, bran flakes are all right.
But they're not enough bran. I prefer all bran.
Yeah.
It's in the name. It's the most bran you can possibly have.
It's literally all bran.
I can't remember the last time I had bran flakes or all bran, but yeah, I used to have them quite a bit. I don't know why. Like, they're just of all the cereals, like, I think you're going to get like a raised eyebrow at when people say like, "You're eating a what?" It's like all bran seems high up there. Right? I don't know. It's just like, yeah, I think it's like because it's like what, like, if you want a healthy breakfast, why aren't you eating some fucking muesli or something? Muesli.
Some fucking muesli. I mean, I don't know. I think it's a respectable one along with like your Quaker Oats and all that. It's not like the one that you're going to get arched eyebrows on is the like super sugar.
Yeah, anything that's not any of these incredibly healthy ones.
Chocolate frosted sugar bombs or whatever it was in the Calvin and Hobbes.
Frosted shreddies. Can I get away with some frosted shreddies?
Not really.
Shit.
Regular shreddies.
I mean, I don't drink.
Get away with those.
I mean, I love me some frosted shreddies. They're like the best cereal.
I don't do cereal at all, and I never have.
That or the crunchy nut clusters with the chocolate bits in them.
Far too much sugar.
Those are amazing.
They are great, but it's just far too much sugar.
Brand.
And I mean, when my bran flakes have run out, and I've been like, "What other cereals are there here?" I'm just like, "Oh, here's some kind of muesli type thing," and I'm just like, "Even this is far too sweet."
Yeah, I'm not into like straight muesli. I like the like. Was it the cereal, the Crunch cereals? Like, I don't know what they're even made of. Really, they often come in those like sort of like naturey looking boxes, but they describe themselves as a crunch as opposed to a like muesli. What is the correct pronunciation of it? Is it muesli?
I think it is muesli.
Muesli.
It's not something I eat. Porridge.
I think muesli is sort of a bit like, I don't know, requires too much effort of your jaw as well. It's a bit too like it doesn't
probably less than the crunches.
It doesn't crunch easily. I don't know.
The crunches, it's in the name. They are in fact crunchy.
Yeah, but it's crunchy as opposed to like a gummy squidginess, right? It sort of becomes like a little. Not as mushy as an all bran soaked in milk.
Definitely nothing as mushy as that.
I don't know, like, yeah, if you leave some cornflakes out for too long, that's a proper bush, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I feel like I would eat porridge if, well, again, as always, the marginal inconvenience of having to heat things. It's just like, I can just pour milk straight into this cereal. That's much easier. But then B, every time I thought about eating porridge, I rediscover that the package of porridge that is in our cupboard was inherited from our grandma, so it's ancient. And I'm like,
gosh.
I just don't trust that.
Is it just the packet or the contents ancient?
I'm pretty sure it's the contents.
Oh, God.
But I'm just like, every time I go in there, I think other porridge gets eaten, and then that's always left when I look. I don't think anyone actually is progressing through that ancient porridge. They're just taking the much newer porridge that keeps getting bought and then taken away before I get to it. And it's like, oh look, it's that ancient porridge again.
But you're never going to ask.
No.
We did.
It's always annoying when I look at that cupboard and it's just like, why is this ancient ass, whatever the hell this is, still here? No one's going to eat this. Or if they are, it's going to be not in its pure form. It's going to be shoved into something to mask the fact that it's ancient.
I mean, are they like the oats you could put in a crumble or something, and they're still good for that?
Yeah, exactly. That's the kind of thing I would expect.
Crumble oats.
But in all these random jars of stuff that have been inherited from grandma, especially because they're like real jars, where it's like a glass jar.
Nice.
And the label of whatever is in there has been like cut out of the bag and shoved in there because that's what grandma did.
Oh, right, I see. Yeah.
But that's how you can tell. Whereas like this has clearly not been opened in like 10 years or more.
That can't be good.
No, you wouldn't have thought so.
I mean, I found some 2017 yeast the other day, and I thought that was a risk.
Well,
maybe because the yeast probably wouldn't work at that point.
It's more likely that it's just not actually going to do anything than it's going to be doing anything weird.
It's not as good as finding silver cake balls from the 80s in your mum's cupboard.
I mean, those are probably acceptable, though, because it's just basically sugar.
It's a sugar ball.
Doesn't really go off or anything.
I guess it doesn't go off, but it's probably like it could be covered in all kinds of like sugar-loving crap.
Well, yeah, in that kind of cake decoration case where it's like it's not an even slightly sealed container, then yes.
Yeah.
It's basically a cardboard tube that they're stored in.
Most skank will have sentiency. There'll just be these little silver balls flying out of the packet, attacking my face. Little laser beams. So pizza day was ruined this year.
Oh.
Which specific pizza day are we talking about?
So there's I know every day is pizza day, right?
or at least every Sunday.
But specifically, like, Noam and I don't really do Valentine's Day, but we do make a sort of little annual tradition roughly around this time where I go out of my way to make pizzas from scratch.
Right, yeah.
And for the first time in a great many years, I was pretty much 100% free from illness, which like never happens. So it's
at
like
this time of year.
Yeah.
So it's always combined, like you get sick and then you have to make pizza from scratch.
Kinda, yeah. Or it gets hideously delayed even more than usual, and we do it in like March or something. It's like it's very, very rare that it happens like to plan. Although this year the plan wasn't exactly in my control, because we had planned on having pizza day on Friday, now known as the day the wind did a thing.
The windiest day since records per wind.
Since wind did one.
Since it blew.
Yeah, so Eustace had other ideas. Didn't like the idea of pizza, the heretic. And, well, apart from destroying my fence in the back garden...
Oh, really? Classic.
Managed to destroy power to this particular part of the world for about 32 hours.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Seriously?
Seriously.
Oh, man. What did you do? You must have been bored.
Very. It's like I only had a couple of
that part of the world.
I mean, I only had a couple of hours of power left in the Switch, because that's how long the Switch lasts. So there wasn't much options there. My DS isn't charged because it's been in the loft since we moved. I guess I could have got some GBAs out and put some batteries in them because they use regular ass batteries. But it would have been dark, and I haven't got GBAs with backlights, so that would have been entertaining.
You still have the lights for them though. Somewhere in your shit boxes.
I guess I probably do have that one that's got like a magnifier. Yeah. I probably do. Yeah. So we went to the pub. Because Needham apparently wasn't quite so badly hit.
Right, and the pub had power.
The Rampant Horse had power, so we were there for a bit. And then, but to be honest, it got to like 10 o'clock, like 9:30 maybe, and we were just like, what are we going to do now? Sleep. So we just went to bed, like really early.
In the dark.
Yeah. In the dark, cold house. And then we had to put up with all of Saturday without power as well.
Does the heating not work?
No, because we've got an oil boiler. It's basically 100% off when it's not running. It's not like there's a pilot light or something running at all times. Right. So it needs power to turn on.
Oh, you can't light it without the power.
So we had no heating either. So that kind of sucked. No one was getting very grumpy. So we ended up hanging out with Kippers. For most of yesterday afternoon.
You just went.
Yeah, we just went somewhere else. It's like, what else are we going to do?
Yeah, I guess.
So my pizza dough is now sentient, I think. Because I made we sort of optimistically made the dough like on Friday, thinking it's like, okay, power's going to come back, right? It's going to be fine. It's like, no, it did not come back. So it's been proving for like 3 days now. It's like, it's not going to be usable. We're gonna
you're gonna have to start again with the dough. Okay.
Yeah. So we'll do.
Did you lose anything in the fridge or?
I mean, we had sausages out of the freezer today, but we think it was mostly okay. We think it's okay.
Yeah.
We just had a rule where it's just like, well, there's absolutely nothing other than cheese, I guess. There's nothing in the fridge we can probably actually get out right now because we can't get the milk out to make a cup of tea.
No.
Or a coffee or anything like that. So it's like other than the cheese, there's probably nothing out of the fridge we're going to want. And of course, we can't use anything in the freezer. So let's just leave that completely sealed, and it will hopefully stay as a cooler box for a day.
Sensible, yeah.
Yeah, so we didn't touch that. No, we did cook super noodles in a fondue kit. Put a little meth powered flame under this fondue kit and cook some super noodles in it.
What, like a gas?
Yeah, like a camping stove, but
camping stove,
but like a really slow burn.
Man,
dark times. Wow. Literally dark times.
Literally dark. Living in the country. Zach, were you hit by it at all, or you fine?
No, it went off for like 15 minutes.
Oh man, that fucking sucks.
For context, how far apart do you guys live from each other, would you say?
Like
half a mile?
Yeah, like a golf course length, like 500 yards. No, probably more than that. Probably 2 par 5s.
Yeah. A par 10 golf course. Yeah.
2 Tiger Woods shots, yeah.
But I wouldn't have thought it would have like been that different, because last time our power went down for a really long time, it was because the power line just on the other side of the railway got hit by one of the trees, because there's that wooded area right there. And so that got taken down, and it took forever to fix, because obviously that area is super inaccessible as well.
So yeah, we actually took the neighbour's dog out as well, because they were just like, "What are you doing right now?" And we're like, "Nothing."
All right, because
neither of us could work either.
No,
so it's like, so I guess that's a plus.
Right,
but like. Yeah, so we were taking the dog, and we were just walking down the road a little bit here, and we ran into to a fire crew. So like, I guess a wire that got busted just like there's like one overhead wire or something that's like not far down the road that had busted, started a fire in someone's backyard, and nothing too serious, but that one cable powers this entire block, I guess.
Right.
This part of the village. And I guess because it's somewhat isolated compared to, like, I don't know, towns and Greater Needham. It's like, I guess we were low down the priority list to get sorted. But then there's a lot of old people, so it should have been higher up the list, right?
Wasn't that cold though, really. So
it was pretty cold.
It wasn't like winter cold. It was only like early spring cold.
I mean, it was in the positive degrees at least. Yeah, so that's been my weekend. Kind of messed up.
Did people actually stay indoors during the storm, like they were told to?
I mean, I didn't. We went out, like I just said, I went out for a walk and went to the pub.
Right, yeah. Well, when it was actually like...
Yeah, when it was proper storming.
Full storming.
I opened my windows when the wind was blowing away, so I was like, this is a good opportunity to just get some airflow, because my windows haven't been open for the whole of winter, basically. Might as well just open them up and blow it through.
It was great fun.
Rip the roof off next door shed. That was about all the damage I could see.
My brother's lost roof tiles. Yeah, that's kind of the worst. It's like, yeah, sure, like roofs are designed well enough that that's not going to ruin the waterproofing. You know, the layer underneath does that, but yeah, they've lost tiles, so that's not a nice fix.
Well, I mean, I wonder what it would have been like at your old house in that wind tunnel, because those buildings made a hell of a wind tunnel down that road.
See, our old house was always fine. Like, houses around us had problems, but our one was always okay. We did have a little sneaky look when we were like nearby Kippers's place, and we just sort of had a little look, and we're just like, "Yep, no, all the tiles are there. They're good." A few of the flats nearby definitely weren't good. They'd lost some.
I got a good view of the flock of birds basically going completely sideways. Fast and feathered Tokyo drift or something. I don't know.
Oh dear. Hope they managed to land safely.
I think they're all right.
Slightly off course. Unless it was blowing in the direction they wanted to go, in which case,
some of them were fighting it and not having much fun, and the others were going, okay, I'm going full speed with the wind. Yeah.
This probably add days to my migration, but I don't care.
So are you going to get like some kind of anchor, power thing for the next time, so you're ready to power your DS or whatever it is as global warming causes more storms.
Somewhat coincidentally, a bit of me has been thinking about like solar panels and stuff like that again. Getting those fitted, and like, but because you can get those like house batteries now that are like, I think they don't store a great deal. They store less than a car. Like, a few kilowatt hours, and they're a couple of grand if you want one of those. Just for this battery.
Stores quite a lot though, right?
Energy, a car stores around 70 kilowatt hours.
Right.
Like, that's a lot.
It's a lot, yeah. It needs to get anywhere.
Yeah.
I suppose. Yeah. Because there's that new.
I think the key is
that was kind of a cool selling point of like the new Ford F-150. The electric one, Lightning or whatever, is that like it can basically power your house for days, pretty much. Because obviously it's a pickup truck, so it's huge, so it's an even bigger battery. But like Texas has all the problems with its electricity grid, and they were like down for days, and it's just power it off your pickup truck. And that's the kind of people that would be sniffy about electric vehicles and want their gas guzzling, giant pickups. It's like, yeah, but if you get this electric one, it can tow more. And it can power your house.
But then they'll be all like, well, why would I need that? I got a backup generator right here.
Yeah, I guess if you do, then, yeah.
I call it Bethany. It smells delicious.
Bethany, the backup generator. You should get one of those, but you can power the street and charge everyone.
Someone around here, like there was a floodlight still on, like around here, and we're like, how is that working? It's like someone must have like some sort of security light or something that just has acres of storage. Like just has an Uber battery, because it was really bright. But it was quite funny just having a little peer out the windows, being like, what's everyone else doing? It's like candlelight, candlelight, candlelight. You just vaguely see little glimmers.
That's super paranoid, having a battery backup security light. It's like for when the thieves that are coming for your jewels cut the power.
Well, I mean, maybe it happens more often than we think around here, and they're the smart ones.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, it might not have had to have that much backup if it was just an LED.
I don't know. Yeah,
because they can be very, as proven by the torch that I have, they can be extremely bright for not actually very much power.
Yeah,
that's true.
I mean, yeah, modern LEDs are excellent, but it was really bright. Anywho, yeah, that was that was my weekend.
News.
Yeah,
not playing games news.
Unfortunately, not this weekend. Got a little bit in this morning.
And not making pizza news as well.
Not making pizza news, no.
But it will happen. It is coming. The pizza is coming.
In one form or another, there will be pizza.
Some form.
Pizza never stops. I was about to say pizza. Pizza never changes, but it kind of does. Like, pizza can change. Pizza has a billion forms.
You got any kitchen bitchins, Egg? Before we dive into the news?
Not really. I mean, I can
porridge.
give you. Yeah, we already covered the cereal situation.
Yeah.
I guess I can have my other bitching moment of YouTube advert bitching.
Oh yeah, the classic.
Because I thought I was done with the adverts for that bullshit game, but no, there was like whole fucking another 15 more that I ended up going through. Their advertising budget must be nuts. And also, weirdly, coincidentally, like probably 2 days after the last podcast where I talked about it, YouTube finally updated the like remove this advert dialogue box window thing to make it. It's like it's way bigger and it has like more information in it, but they got rid of the like reasons selection. Not that those reasons were ever useful or made any sense or probably mattered at all. But now you can't even pick like repetitive or irrelevant or whatever. It's just like, just get rid of it.
Oh, awesome.
Which makes it much less guilt trippy, I guess.
Yeah,
It's just like, you don't have to have even the slightest legitimate reason. You can just be like, no.
Dislike.
Yep.
We never guessed what that game was called, right?
No.
Because you weren't going to tell us.
Nope.
Tower Saga.
That sounds generic.
Yep,
is that a real thing? I'm guessing not.
I mean, that is two very similar game names of generic games.
Fruit Crush.
Yeah. Oh, that's a bit too close, though.
Yeah, it's a bit too close.
That probably already exists. I would be surprised.
Ninja Royale.
That also probably already exists.
Royale with Ninja.
Bingo Battle. Casino Kings.
Casino Kings definitely already exists.
The Fruit Ninja.
Right.
Wine Gum Tantrum.
I would play Wine Gum Tantrum.
That sounds like something that Wine Gums would have made as a marketing thing at some point. Some like Wine Gum themed match free ripoff.
Wine Gum Tantrum. You don't want to throw one of those.
All brand Pro Ab. I don't know what sport all brand would be, but
I've been seeing a lot of videos about
Five Nights of Shreddies.
Now we've gone into like cereal games. It's not even, we're just totally randomly off topic here. I've been seeing a lot of videos about curling for some reason on my YouTube. I guess because it's
they went to Olympics.
Yeah,
It's on today. Yeah, and we won. Well,
Spoilers for those that didn't watch it, but yes, we totally won.
but it's not a spoilers for something that's just happened, I guess.
Well, don't ruin the Super Bowl for us. I still haven't watched that.
Oh, right.
But it was weird, like, because I was seeing these videos where it's just like, I mean, I wasn't seeing videos about any other winter sports, just curling.
I mean, that was all we were good at.
Well,
That's
obviously,
the only one.
but I don't think that's why it would get recommended like that on YouTube. And
No, I
also,
guess not.
and also, it wasn't like they were. Well, as this is just YouTube being YouTube, but it wasn't like they were current videos. It was like, here's a random curling video from 6 years ago.
Okay, wow.
Of like Canadians playing curling.
In fairness,
because
curling rocks.
Yes.
Pun intended.
The like UTF or whatever, the emoji set of emojis is quite limited, isn't it? I can never find like something that I'd actually want to use as an emoji. But I was texting someone about curling, and of course, there's a curling emoji.
The spinning stone, right? Or something.
Yeah, the stone is one of the emojis. It's like, how many people use that? I don't know.
I imagine most of Scotland right now.
Yeah. And of course, there's a gold medal emoji. So it's like stone, 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 gold medal.
Do you reckon that? Do you reckon people use that to mean they're getting stoned? Just
that's not an obvious enough stone reference. I don't think.
Just like I'm getting curling stoned tonight.
Maybe in Scotland, that's useful.
Is it a side view or top down?
It'd be like isometric.
It's
I guess.
A side view. It's a side view. Yeah. I think it's a side view, at least on Apple.
Because it would have to be a side view to make it more obvious what the hell it was. Because otherwise it'd just be like a yellow or red circle with a bit of grey around it.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, it's definitely a side-on view.
Search emoji. Well, I can't.
Is curling stone part of the default set?
It's probably extended.
Yeah, I don't know. It's the searching for curling or stone on my Samsung S8 hasn't come up with one.
Oh, maybe it's just
unless it's like
an Apple thing.
Yeah, maybe Apple adds stuff like that's contextual to the moment.
Do you think?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, is there an Olympic symbol in there? Because that's not a standard emoji.
Well,
no, there isn't.
Yeah, that would be a weird one. Let me look at my extremely old phone and see
if I
search anything.
Although if I search for Olympics on a Samsung, I do get the medals emojis come up.
Yeah.
Rock and stone.
That's what we need to use that for, obviously.
Yeah.
Was approved as part of Unicode 10 in 2017.
Wow.
Interesting.
I suppose I might have had this phone this long. Maybe it doesn't have that emoji library.
Amazing. I'm lucky as a train because like emojis come from Japan. So before they started, and Japanese people love trains. So before they actually started, raining back how many emojis there were already like 10 different train emojis.
I suppose, yeah, they could have had like a steam one, a bullet train, a regular tram sort of thing.
Let's have a look. What do we got here? How do you...
Adventures in emoji with those who aren't that familiar with using them.
There's train, high-speed train, bullet train, station, metro, locomotive, mountain railway, monorail, light rail.
There are quite a few. I'm looking at them now. Yeah. There's quite a few cars as well, in fairness.
Mountain railway, that's got to be pretty niche.
And the sort of radio towers that are around Tokyo, they're here as well.
Yeah.
I cannot find the curling stone. Oh no, there it is. I totally got it. I can't see what it's called, but I've totally got a curling stone.
So weird.
I'm not sure I do on my extremely old phone. There's several other like Olympic sport logo type things.
There's like it's not a bobsled or a skeleton or a luge, but there's a sled and there's some skis and ice skating.
I've got what appears to be surfing, snowboarding, swimming.
Skateboarding's on here. I'm sure all of these have a secondary meaning.
Clearly.
Especially that boxing glove.
What is... I guess I've just got... Whoops. I've got something that looks very much like a Pac-Man ghost, which is like... What even... like, that's not even...
In fairness, if I search for something that doesn't exist, like on this phone, you get a little ghost run along the screen and it says nothing to see here. And and I'm just like, what if I want that?
Yeah, what if you want to put that ghost?
It's probably new phone time for me, I think. Like,
think?
Yeah, battery life is getting quite slim on this thing, which was highly noticeable recently.
What, when you lost power for 32 hours?
When I lost power for 32 hours, yeah. I mean, fortunately, my little Google Cloud battery pack that I got as a freebie at a convention centre, a convention once, was was fully charged. So I managed to get an 80% charge out of that for a bit. and we sort of charged them whenever we got in a car. We charged them. It's like, okay, plug everything in.
Yeah, sensible. So what's the plan for a new phone though?
I'll probably stay in Samsung land. I like my S8 quite a lot, but
well, I think the new
it's just getting a bit sluggish these days,
or something, isn't it? Now,
yeah, 22's just come out. I think
that looks pretty good.
I mean, it's only unless you're getting the 22 Ultra, which is where all the changes are. Like the regular 22 is pretty much the same as last year's, or as the 21. So yeah, don't go out of your way to get a 20. I'm probably not going to go out of my way to get a 22. I'll be quite happy with a 21, but I don't.
Oh, fair, yeah.
But then I don't know if it's just worth like just doing a factory reset on this thing, like just clean it all the way back and then see if that speeds it up. Because that's my biggest problem. It's like I just find myself like waiting to jump between things now, which it didn't used to do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a combination, isn't it? Like, it probably is the battery health. Has a big effect.
I mean, that's the only thing I really want my phone to ever be good at, and that's just switching between things. It's like I don't, and obviously be semi-decent at making phone calls and text messages. Actually be decent at a phone, but if I want to use apps and things like that, I don't want to have to wait for them to load or to or for them to faff around in some way. It's like, no, I just want to get on with this. If I want to look something up very quickly on a map or something, I don't want to have to wait for the Maps app to load.
No, you just want.
I just want to go, and
that is what a speedier phone will get you there, right? Come on, that's what I noticed most.
Yeah,
my most recent upgrade is it's just snappier to move between things.
Yeah, like getting Spotify running or switching to a podcast. The things I do with my phone, like normally when I'm about to go off on a drive, actually, it's like I just want all that stuff to work a bit quicker. It kind of doesn't. And I have annoying work requirements now. That means I need to, like, if I want to use certain two-factor authentication things on my phone, I need to have the phone needs to be running in encrypted mode, and that takes a bit of time on boot if I restart it, which I do every now and then.
Is that an Android thing, or is it?
Yeah, I think some Android phones you can just run in a fully encrypted state, and or with some extra layer on. And as I say, some two-factor authentication apps seem to force you to turn that on, otherwise they won't work. Which is annoying.
Yeah, that is annoying.
Anyhow,
I just used that. Well, I don't know. I suppose I do have the Okta one. Right, yeah. But I don't think that needs anything special. And I just use Google Authenticator or whatever for most of those.
Yeah, I use Google for some things and Microsoft for some other things. Depending on who needs me to do what. Business, yo.
Business.
And
turning from business to hopefully something fun.
I can lean us into the entertainment industry a little bit. Here we go. I watched Moonfall.
Oh, that's supposed to be terrible.
Oh, it's terrible in all the right ways.
In the right ways.
Yeah,
okay.
it's like it's an apocalypse film, so you know what you're getting into. Like, it's going to be bad, and it is bad in all those kind of ways. It suffers from the problem where all classic trailer problems. All the jokes are in the trailer. So don't expect much more of that in the real thing. It takes a very weird, unnecessary exposition dump at the end. That's just like you probably could have done. You probably didn't need all of that, but okay. Without spoiling it too much, it's basically Independence Day,
right?
Just without a giant space laser blowing up Washington,
But it is a different kind of level of quality from Independence Day, surely. I know Independence Day isn't the greatest movie, but
it's modern CG, but
right.
If you're talking about image quality and all that, and I can't really fault that end of it. It like the visual effects department is fine. But it's just a really stupid film. Like, it's really stupid. But I had a good time.
is fun because it's got like freaking charismatic people in it, like Will Smith and freaking what's his name?
Sure.
From Jurassic Park, and it's even got like Data.
I mean, not even the world's happiest Mexican, and I'm sorry, I still don't remember his name. But the guy from Ant-Man, like even he's in it, and even he couldn't really save it because he was unfortunately playing the role of the annoying stepdad. While the divorced dad is the hero character, he was playing annoying stepdad character, and it's like, it's a waste of world's happiest Mexican.
Shame.
Yeah.
I guess
It's a waste. What a waste. It's a weird film. Yeah. I know what you
do. You recommend it based on stupidity?
I mean, like I said, I had a good time.
Okay, fair.
I don't know if I can recommend you go spend money on this thing.
No.
but that's kind of maybe that's the best way to do it because cinemas. But like they can do that sort of spectacle film the best, I guess. But you'd probably be happy, and if you've got a decent enough setup at home, you could probably be just fine. It's real stupid.
Okay, film section. Now time for the news of the games, because this is a podcast about video games. If you hadn't worked that out already.
Then you might have had a struggle to this time.
Yeah. We talked slightly about running out of batteries on Switch, but that's about it so far. What's going on in the world?
Not a huge amount outside of Nintendo giving us their first Direct of the year,
Which happened so close to the last podcast, I nearly forgot that we hadn't talked about it.
I mean, yeah, we've talked about it amongst ourselves, but we've not covered it on the podcast. So here we go.
What did they announce?
Well, I'm not going to go through everything naturally, but here's
Are you sure?
but here's a maybe a third list of things. Fire Emblem Warriors. Yeah. They're making a Muso out of Fire Emblem because Nintendo seemed to
Again.
What, you mean they've done Fire Emblem Warriors before?
Yes, they did it before Hyrule Warriors even, I think.
Did they?
Or is it after Hyrule Warriors, the first one? There's been one.
I did not know that. Okay, I just thought this was Nintendo just being like, well, these games seem to sell, make another one.
Well, that is what they're doing. It's just they've already done it 2 times before. There's not once.
Pick a franchise, go nuts. I mean, I did ask Zach whether he thought this was remotely interesting because it's Fire Emblem instead of Zelda, and he's the one of us that's Fire Emblem-y.
I mean, it runs into the exact same problem as the last Fire Emblem games, where it's like as soon as they started to try and make it, for some reason they're trying to make Fire Emblem like a real battle with like NPC units basically, and it's like that's not cool. Like the whole way Fire Emblem used to work was like you were only worried about the hero units basically, and then they fight each other one on one, and then when you've got this weird like. And it looks real. I always thought in like Free Houses as well, and these like weird NPC soldiers just look so incredibly generic with their shitty grey uniforms. And it's like they just look kind of ugly.
What you mean, more so than the Hylian?
Yeah, the generic Hylian soldiers
with their hats that can't show their faces.
They at least have a little bit of colour to them, I guess.
Yes.
But in this Fire Emblem world, it all looks much more beige.
I mean, it looked like a Fire Emblem game to me. That was.
I mean, outside of the combat sequences, it did more or less. Slightly more fancy on the 3D map, I guess. But that's not what you want.
It did at least look like a Megaforce doing what they do best, which is like aping the style, making them a Muso game first and foremost, but then also making it in the style of the property there.
Yeah, but that in Fire Emblem's case, much less effort though, because it's basically might as well be the same.
It's a bit more generic anime look, I guess, but like anime game look compared to like having to go for the style of Hyrule Warriors. But anyway, they're making another one of those. It's called Three Hopes. It's based on the Three Houses games.
And who knows how much time travel there'll be in that one. Because I don't actually know the story of Three Houses, but I did see some comments where it's like, oh, is this going to be the true ending where everyone survives? Because, in Fire Emblem games, people are meant to die, except for when you can do a full, nobody dies run or whatever. But that's slightly different from story sequence, forced deaths, I guess. I don't actually know what the story of Three Houses is, so I don't know who dies, but I think someone probably does.
In fact, that's probably where Hyrule Warriors is going there, isn't it? It would just be everyone's okay this time.
Well, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen towards the end of Hyrule Warriors. Are they going to, undo the time travel at some point, essentially?
I bet
Is
not.
Everyone going to go home?
I bet not. Well, maybe. Maybe the characters that did actually time travel, the characters that time traveled, as opposed to Little Robot Dude.
Well, yeah. I mean, Little Robot Dude is the whole problem. It's just one gigantic time paradox. And we haven't even seen the evil Little Robot Dude again for ages.
Yeah.
He's still out there. We've got to deal with that at some point.
He's somewhere. Fire Emblem Warriors. And after, I suppose we said the last few times Nintendo had done things, they hadn't really shown anything on Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp, which I think should probably be considered for our brand action stupid name award.
Brand action.
I don't think that's a stupid name though. I think that's actually a good use of.
I don't know. I don't think
using reboot into your title.
Reboot Camp. I don't know. It just feels like too many things. I think they could have stopped at Advance Wars 1+2 because after Tony Hawk's 1+2, that was all you needed.
Yeah, but that sort of implies more of a re-release though, which is why it was also weird for Tony Hawk's as well.
I mean, they're not changing anything mechanically about this, are they? It's just a complete graphical overhaul.
Yeah.
But I have to say, I'm not into its graphical overhaul.
No.
I don't.
That's what we always say.
Yeah.
Pixel art is superior.
It's lost a whole lot of charm as a result of the transition. There was something even looking at the GBA graphics, there's something quite crunchy about those the battle sequences, right, and the way the explosions just go off, because the explosions don't really have many frames of animation, right? There's almost just two, but but it happens so fast, and it's so big and and just bum, 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 and it just happens, and it's just that crunchiness to those sequences is really appealing.
Well, I think we talked about it,
and it's all gone now.
I think we talked about it the first time they showed this. It was probably the first thing we said about it, where it's just because it's now 3D graphics with just effects, they basically haven't hidden the models disappearing well enough, because that's what the pixel art graphics were good at.
Well, they just flew off the screen, didn't they?
Well, no, the people did, but the vehicles just disappeared and an explosion happened. But they haven't, because it's now it's a smoke particle effect, but it's not thick enough to hide the fact that the model just started to disappear with a weak ass explosion.
Everything looks a little bit it's the alpha layer has just not been done right.
Or they just haven't made the explosions big enough, really, to not cover it better.
Yeah,
they're quite weak.
Yeah, bit too poofy, bit too smoky. This is I don't know. I'm just not sure why they didn't just try and do an HD 2D on it or something like that. Just keep Advance Wars.
That's not Nintendo's tech. Get Square to do it, and then they can do that.
Yeah, but then even. Or maybe just go for a .emu look to it, have it all hand animated still. But I don't know. There's something. There's just something off about it. I'm kind of okay with how they've done the CO graphics and things like that. Those kind of look okay. And hey, they were keen to point out that all of the CO chatter is now voice acted, as opposed to just being text. Yeah, it's just the actual units themselves and the map and the fact that they've gone for a 3D modeling and an under stylized 3D modeling, I think, and that's the problem. I
mean, there was definitely a couple of times in that trailer where I just I don't even know what unit you're shooting at, because it doesn't resemble the pixel art enough, and it's not distinct enough in itself to recognize what it was immediately.
Otherwise, the package looks pretty good, right?
It's just Advance Wars ones.
It's those games, so it's going to play just fine. So there's that. They mentioned it, and it's out real soon, isn't it? Maybe a month away, something like that. No Man's Sky is coming to the Switch somehow. Like,
it's not that difficult.
I mean,
it runs on my computer.
It doesn't run well on.
It doesn't run well on my computer.
It doesn't run that well on Xbones and like PS4s though. Like,
yeah, but that's with everything turned up. That's with the graphics options.
I mean, I guess it's got some stuff turned up, but like, it's not the best running game on those platforms. I just don't quite know how the Switch is going to. Yeah, is going to take it really. It's probably going to be like how The Witcher 3 runs on Switch, right?
It's going to run just as well as it does on my computer, I'm sure. Probably better.
Doesn't mean it's good. Yeah, it's worth a look though. From a technology point of view, it'll be interesting to see what comes out the other end. I guess they could just turn off grass, right? But then the screenshot showed most of the grass effects and things still there.
The grass is the main problem.
I mean, it's quite thick.
Well, yeah, but like I feel like that kind of grass tech is not very expensive in a sort of render way because it's it's one texture and it's just loading, and it's not like it has to be specific because it's all procedural.
No, I guess, and it is only like a crisscross pattern of polygons half the time.
Yeah,
so maybe it's not that tough.
Because as looking at the options menu in No Man's Sky, like one of the things which definitely has a significant effect on how it looks is the actual, I forget what they call it, where it's like the like how smooth the procedural generation is. Basically, it's like how how
like a world detail.
Yeah, it's like world detail, but it's for like the actual polygons, I guess, of the world. Like it makes it smoother or whatever. It runs the procedural generation to a higher detail level or something.
Oh right, yeah. So there's a course pass, and then over that course pass, then runs like an interpolation.
Yeah, interpolation. That's what it's called. That's the word I was looking for. But yeah, if you turn that, I have never had any of that turned on, of course, because I'm still on my ancient computer and running it basically like how it was originally, more or less. But with better grass now, I can still have those parts slightly turned up
and all the funky new colours.
Well, yeah, and the overlay effects, I guess. But yeah, that the more important question about it on the Switch is like, what are they going to do for updates? Like, is it going to stay in sync?
I mean, it kind of has to now. It's all fully cross-platform.
Well, will it even be cross-platform?
Yeah, I mean, it has to be at this point. I mean, they just dropped new updates for that as well. Sentinel update.
Yeah, so they finally decided to try and make the combat not shit after pretty much immediately after I talked about how if we were going to go back to No Man's Sky, and Rob was thinking about it, and I was like, yeah, but the combat is rubbish, and that was the bit that Rob hadn't done yet.
I hadn't really got involved in too much of that at all, really. But it was never really threatening the combat.
Well,
like you just take a while.
That's why it's rubbish.
You just take a while to take down the bigger things, but
I don't know how much they can like. It's hard to tell from the trailer for that update how much it's actually going to change. Because it's like, oh, there's a new type of Sentinel, but that doesn't really change anything. Just that makes them take longer to kill. More about the actual like mechanics of fighting.
There's a mech.
Well, I mean, there was already a mech.
But like customizable mech.
It was already customizable.
Oh, all right.
The mech that they've shown is based on the Sentinel, so it looks like a Sentinel.
Oh.
But it's just...
So it's a new mech?
It's probably a skin on top of the regular mech frame, I imagine.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I like... The actual problem with combat in that game is the way it controls, right? Because you're very... sort of slow moving and like attached to the ground, except for when you jump and then you suddenly detach from the ground because of your jetpack and you're like, and it's like there's no real maneuverability in that game, which is why combat was the way it was, because you pretty much just stood there and shot things until they died. So I don't know if that's really going to be changed.
I mean, you can just by moving a little bit, you dodge some fire.
Well, sure, but it's not like it's a dodge or anything. It's like you're strafing very slowly. Because you don't actually move very fast in that game, really.
No. Unless you can fight on a mount now, I don't know. Get your pets out.
I mean, I guess that's what the mechs are for, kind of. I don't think I ever got to the point of having the mech upgraded enough for it to actually be useful. Like most of the vehicles in that game, really. Yeah. When it makes you make the vehicle bays for them while you're doing the base building chain of missions or whatever, and it's like, I'm never going to actually use this vehicle because I'm not going to bother to upgrade it to actually make it slightly useful.
I think the only one I haven't driven is the submarine.
Because that's its own separate thing, though. Yeah. That's like not. That's even less necessary. I think the only one I did bother to upgrade was the hovercraft one, obviously, because it's super fast and it can go right over water. So you just, if you're exploring a planet, you can just straight line everything.
Yeah, I don't think I've looked into the hovercraft much. I've done the buggy mostly, the starting buggy.
Yeah. And I can't see any possible reason you'd want to use the giant ass 6-wheel thing.
No, this is supposed to be like a mining vehicle, but it's like.
But why would you do that?
You can just do it by hand. It's fine.
Yeah.
I suppose you could just warp the vehicle to you and use it as storage for all the mining.
Well, except not, though, because you need to build the vehicle platform on the planet. That was always the thing that was dumb about that.
Didn't they make it so you could just build a platform in your carrier?
Yeah, but you have to have the upgrade for the carrier to be able to. You have to
put that.
Yeah, you have to get the stuff to be able to make that upgrade for a start, and then you have to use one of the slots in your carrier's upgrade or whatever to actually equip the vehicle teleportation thing.
But then you could just use it for storage. Just like, I need my storage truck. Come here.
But it's not even that big. I mean, so you might as well just call down a ship. Yeah, same thing, true. Basically. Or, if you wanted to use that same slot in your character, just install the teleporter upgrade and just put stuff directly into your carrier.
Well, true. Yeah. I would quite like that. Always, that's the only sort of real limitation in that game most of the time is storage space.
Yeah, as always, but much less so nowadays.
So there's that. Also, we kind of knew about this before the Direct, that it was happening, but this was the first time we've seen it. Mario Strikers is back.
Did we really know about this before?
Yeah, apparently. I didn't, personally, so I was quite surprised.
Or was this part of that leak?
Yeah, I think...
that people weren't entirely certain about, because that was the same leak that had Mario Kart 9 in it. It turned out to be something else, as we're going to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah, so Mario Strikers had been known. I don't know where, but I think this was the first time we officially got to see it. And I mean, it doesn't look like a huge amount has changed since the GameCube game, but obviously,
you play the GameCube game? I don't remember playing.
I think I did a couple of times. I didn't own it. I think one of us borrowed it for a bit. I think maybe my brother borrowed it for my GameCube or something. But yeah, it was weird soccer, wasn't it? Because basically it was a little bit like when Mario Tennis introduced the super moves and things like that, because that was all you really needed to do, was to get a super move, use it, and then you'd score 2 goals instead of 1. And that's
great.
And that's still a thing. Get your supers and use them and you'll win. That seems to still potentially be what the game looks like. I don't know. It's hard to know, I guess. But I do like it's how would you describe it? It's sort of like scribbly, scratchy style that they used on the box art for the original game has now actually sort of made it into this game. So when characters do supers and things like that, they get that sort of scratchy box art effect applied to them, and it does look pretty cool. As far as having its own style goes, I think actually putting it in the game was. It needed that. It's nice.
Needed something to make it stand out from all the other Mario.
Absolutely,
games
yeah.
Yeah. And it's all the kind of costumes of protective gear, sports gear that they wear. It's kind of cool. Yeah. For this made-up sport.
For this made-up sport of not quite soccer.
Is it 5-a-side? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, like 5-a-side.
Yeah. I guess the coolest mode would be actually being able to set up an 8-player match, because you can do that now. Like you can have everyone except the goalie be a human player.
Well, I guess it depends on what the controls are actually like. Like, as long as it can work on easily well enough on
That's the problem. It would have to happen on like
Joy-Con,
a half Joy-Con. Oh, sorry, not a half Joy-Con, just one Joy-Con.
One Joy-Con, yeah.
So yeah, it'd have to be simple enough. No dual sticking. Mario Strikers. Battle League. Then we got to see some Splatoon 3. And
kind of, I guess.
Kind of. I mean, we got to see Salmon Run.
Yes.
Salmon Run's definitely returning.
Your favourite bit?
Well, I don't know about my favourite, but it's a nice bit. It's an important part of the Splatoon 2 package. Yeah, it's nice to see it back. They've had adding a few enemies to it. Although I guess the sort of downside to it is it didn't look like it was different enough. Maybe it looked. I mean, it's nice that it's back, but it seemed far too familiar.
I mean, what else would it be different about it?
I don't know. Like maybe a touch different. Like all the arenas of Salmon Run kind of like looked the same. Like they didn't like go to different areas.
They all look the same after they're covered in green goop. That kind of masks the terrain quite well.
I mean, that's Splatoon's thing, though, right? Yeah. Like everything gets covered in everything, but you know what I mean. There wasn't a lot of variety in locations in Salmon Run.
Yeah, but that was kind of the point, kind of. I mean, they were all like coastal places where the salmonids go,
and I think that's fine for like a first version of it. But I think if you're doing more of it, you kind of need to go push it out a bit. And so far, they've only really shown there's maybe a couple new enemies. That's all we've really seen from this. But hey, it's back. I can't complain. Oh, and throwing the eggs. I don't know how I feel about that.
It's going to be real problematic.
Because before you had to like hand deliver the eggs like right up. You had to basically face plant yourself into the egg basket to deliver. And then, like egg collection was the whole point of that mode, really.
Yeah.
And but yeah, now that you can throw them about, it's kind of like it's Overcooked too, isn't it? Like they added the throw.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't know if that becomes easier or like more dangerous, like as in the probability for mishaps gets higher.
Yes, I mean, chucking them directly into the water is going to happen a lot. But then it also seems like the exact counter to some like that the new enemy that's just a pole that you have to climb up to kill the things at the top. It's like the eggs seem to spawn at the top of that, but then throwing them exactly counters that.
Yeah,
because you just chuck them off it and then go down to the ground. It's the perfect counter to that thing they've just introduced.
If they spawn the pole, surely when they kill it, the pole will go eventually and all the eggs will just come down.
Maybe. I mean, it doesn't seem like it, unless that was just something they did for the
That's probably
demo
just something they did to say, hey, you can throw them now.
Well, I mean, they showed it in other ways, though.
Yeah.
I think the slight...
I mean, I like the idea of it potentially being like if the timer runs out and there's one still in the air. They didn't show this, but I want them to have like a Hail Mary kind of like.
But I don't think it would go far enough for it to matter like that. It'd be like 1 second.
Yeah, but it would be cool. Like just that little bit of that sort of like. Especially if it like went into slow mo, just if that was happening and it was just like, is it going to make it? Yes.
I think the slightly weirder thing about the throwing is that like it looks like when you do it I assume, judging by this, that it must use ink because it appears to create a splash of ink under you.
Oh, I see.
Which I don't know about that seems like that might make it quite easy because then you don't even have to worry about,
because you could just sink in it immediately.
Yeah, you can jump directly onto an egg that's just in enemy terrain and then just throw it and you're just instantly safe.
Well, I mean, you're never safe.
Well, but you're safer than standing on enemy ink, I guess. But yeah, presumably it will use ink as the balance mechanism, I guess, that you have to have ink to be able to do it.
And maybe it's quite expensive.
Maybe it's like a grenade.
Yeah.
Like you only get one per tank, almost.
Anyway, Splatoon 3, get hype! I want to point out, this has been relevant to the Mario Kart conversation later, but I want to, just have a little shout out to Disney Speedstorm. So, because this seems like the obvious play Disney should have done, forever ago.
So, like, everyone who's making Smash Bros. Clones at the moment.
Yeah.
Why has everyone not already cloned Mario Kart as well?
Yeah, exactly. Disney have a ridiculous wealth of characters. Why haven't they made a kart racer? Well, they have now. And
I'm sure they have in the past, we just don't know about it.
yeah, they probably. I mean, Disney Infinity probably had one, right? And to be fair to it, it looks pretty good. Like, it seems quirky and vibrant, and like and looked like it drove well enough. And I was kind of thinking, yeah, all right, Disney, fair play to you. And then, of course, they had to drop the little stinger at the end, and it's free to play. And it's like, oh no, this means it's going to be rubbish, isn't it? And it's going to have like that you're going to have to buy characters, and it's probably going to be as unbalanced as hell.
I mean, it was more like the first thing they said that should have told you that when they said from the makers of the Asphalt series, and you're like, oh
yeah, yeah, I should have known.
Not that the Asphalt games are supposedly that bad for what they are, but they are that type of thing.
And I didn't think, at least in the early days, I didn't think Asphalt was free to play. I thought you had to buy in, just buy the game. Like, they weren't expensive.
Well, I mean, I'm sure they probably were like that in the early days before the mobile market changed to be about free to play.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe it might be worth a try because it's free to play. Like, give it a little look.
Well, I mean, just like the Warner Brothers fighting game will be a thing to try because it's free to play.
Absolutely. But it looked all right. It's probably going to be better than Team Sonic Racing.
I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying it's going to be better than Sonic and All Stars Racing Transformed, because that's a pretty high target. Chrono Cross, that beloved sequel to SNES game Chrono Trigger, is getting a remake, and on the Switch. And I think it looks bad.
Well, I mean, it's not much of a remake.
No, but it's
upscale.
Yeah, but it looked like a really ropey upscale in places. Like, okay, yeah. So it was a PS1 game. The characters, it's done a little bit like the Final Fantasy games were during that era, where it's polygonal characters on pre-rendered backgrounds. So the polygons look exactly as they did back in the PS1 era. So a little bit, low poly count, bad textures. And because they haven't gone to the effort of like redrawing all of the background art, they've used some kind of AI upscaler on all of the backgrounds, and I think it's done a terrible job. That thing looked crap. Like, I would have preferred it just to have been pixels. Like, keep the pixel art from the PS1 version. It would have looked better.
I don't necessarily think it looks that bad, but it looks better in some scenes than others. But I think it's because it's like some of the scenes make that upscaling look almost like it was an intentional, like, painterly thing. In some ways. I mean, I'm not so sure. I mean, it looked like I used to have this technique on like PaintShop Pro and Photoshop where I could take low res things and make them look a little bit nicer by blurring it a bit, and then using I think it was called like an edge preserving smooth or something like that, where it would attempt to like join up the edges with nice curves and things like that. And you could, with some graphics, you could get a nice upscale-ish effect. I think I did it on some Sonic desktops I used to have back when I was a teenager, and it looked better. You could make it work, and it looks to me like they've applied a very similar technique to that. And of course, like, it only works well some of the time. It works on simple shapes. It's like if you've got busy backgrounds, it goes a bit blobby. And I think that's exactly what's happened here. It's over sharpened. It's lost something. I don't know if it has. Also, I don't like. It's subjective. I have no actual reference to what that game looked like originally, so how would I know if it's bad? Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like, I've not had much exposure to Chrono Cross either, but I'm basing it off my experience with Square's other games of the time, where it's, they all followed that template to some degree. Well, yeah, maybe, but like, how early in that time period was this, and like what exactly are the contemporaries?
I think Final Fantasy 8 and 9. I think is kind of that time period. Somewhere around there. I want to say Chrono Cross was like slap bang in the middle of the PlayStation's life cycle. Anywho, it's called the Radical Dreamers edition.
For Radical Dreamers?
For Radical Dreamers. For left-wing thinkers.
Well, for an Satellaview game, apparently.
Well, no, that was one of the extras, wasn't it? The Satellaview part of
that is called Radical Dreamers.
Oh, I see. Right. Radical Dreamers. I didn't mean to say left-wing thinkers. I think I meant left-field thinkers.
You're like, only for Trotskyists. Yeah.
Very radical.
Marxist Leninists are not too mainstream for this game.
Oh, man. And that's it, other than the controversial Mario Kart news.
It's not it.
Well, that's all I've got. What do you want to talk? Oh, do you want to talk about Kirby?
Well, I mean, there's that, I guess. Not that much to talk about in that one.
Other than
apart from that, it is just ripping on Mario Odyssey exactly as we thought.
Mouthful mode. I mean, I find it amazing that they just call it that, mouthful mode. I mean, okay, I think my hype level for Kirby has gone up a bit. Probably, I think this trailer did it favors.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean,
it looks fun.
It looks
It
all right.
does seem kind of unnecessary, of course. It's like we had to give Kirby a different coffee mechanic other than the one he already has.
He already has, yeah.
It's like why?
I mean, they haven't done the coolest thing, the whole combine coffee.
Yeah. I mean, they've done upgrades now, which sort of brings back some of the old combinations by the looks of it from the 64 game.
Oh, I see. Right. So just by upgrading it, you're going to get something that's a bit like the old ones.
Yeah. And some of the mouthful abilities are sort of... I mean, the vending machine one is basically the same as the fridge ability from 64.
Sure. Yeah, it looks all right. Yeah, Kirby. Oh, it's a risk to bet against Kirby. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I mean, I guess. It's a slight risk in this case because it's slightly unusual for Kirby, I guess.
Don't counterpick that Kirby.
But then the other thing that you've decided for some reason not to talk about is Switch Sports.
Oh yeah! Oh my god, that's completely left my mind. God damn it, Switch Sports! Right. I don't know why they're doing this. I do know why they're doing this, but they're doing it in a Nintendo-like way.
Why didn't they do this years ago?
Yeah, why didn't they do this when the Switch came out?
I mean, we don't know if they're going to pack this in. Pack it in as in stop. Pack it in as in put it in with a Switch release.
In that case, they should have done it when the
they should have. But
they'll do a bundle, but it won't be free, right? Because the console has been on sale since forever. I don't think they're going to say, and now the OLED edition comes with Switch Sports for free. That's not going to happen. They'll do a bundle deal.
But the real question about that aspect of things is, it only makes sense if they don't try and charge full price for it, right?
Yeah, it can't possibly be a full price game. If it is, something's gone very wrong because it's so slight. That's my problem with it.
It's as slight as the
it's
original.
As slight as Wii Sports is, but that's fine because Wii Sports was free. Everyone who got a Wii got Wii Sports. Everyone. It was that was just the deal. So it didn't really matter that it was only 6 things. Selling it as a separate product, now it matters that it's only 6 things, and that 3 of them are effectively returning things.
But will probably work better at least.
Yeah, and a lot of them are similar. I don't know
having badminton and volleyball as well as tennis is that's kind of a bit of overlap.
It's a bit of a cop out. I mean, adding online, that's a thing. Yeah, I can understand that. That's okay.
But with Nintendo's garbage ass online, that's maybe not the best.
I mean, I do like the idea of the bowling alley being filled with potentially other online players, so everyone's actually having a legit game around, even if you're not. like I don't know if it would even do that, but it's like if even if you're not playing online with people, that like if you're in the bowling alley, everyone around you is a real player. That's just kind of nice.
Kind of very irrelevant, but kind
totally
of nice.
Irrelevant, but kind of nice. That feels like a Nintendo-like thing to do. So, and they did at least say that golf, one of I think that was that Wii Sports?
Yeah, that was original.
The original Wii Sports. Yeah, at least golf is going to make a return as a 7th game for free.
For some reason, like why you released Mario Golf not that long ago, and now you're just making another golf game, except it's inside this game.
Yeah. And I don't think I think the football is original.
Yeah.
And they're saying you're like if you've got the knee strap from like Ring Fit.
Well, they seem to imply that it's included in this game as well. That strap.
I wasn't quite sure if they said that it was included. I think they said you might be able to get it separately, but like if you've got Ring Fit, you've got one of these.
But they also said you'd only be able to do like the penalty shootout mode with that initially.
Yeah, and there'll be an update to make it so you can play fully with kick actions later. It's like, why? Why did that not work well for the first time around? And you're having to fix it before, like after release? It's like that seems like a weird thing to say. I don't know. This, it's going to be a full price title, and it's like I hate it. I hate it. Like it's not for me. It's clearly not for us. Like it's for the Wii crowd of old that will have moved on to other things by now.
Yeah, but why didn't they try and re-engage the Wii crowd of old when they launched the Switch? I mean,
they did. That was what 1-2 Switch was.
Yeah,
but it didn't work. Okay. Yeah, I suppose.
I mean, 1-2 Switch is a jump, but like sports makes sense, right? For like casual users because like more people are likely to understand those sports.
Yeah, but 1-2 Switch was meant to be like a WarioWare, where it's just like everything is so simple that you could learn it in literally a second and just do it.
But I don't think WarioWare is a simple thing to explain to like your gran.
Yeah, but it wasn't like WarioWare.
I know.
You had time to actually learn.
I'm just saying, it's like it's not. I don't think it translates quite as easily as a sport.
And it wasn't like they were completely obscure motions or anything. It's like milk a cow. I mean, people theoretically understand that.
Eat a sandwich.
Yeah, eat a sandwich.
Yeah, there's some knowledge to that. Like, okay, you've got to hold the controller like you can't just hold it anyway. You've got to hold the controller like this and then go ma at this end.
Well, okay, that one specifically using the IR sensor maybe does have a little more precision to it.
Yeah, I'm just surprised they didn't just go whole hog and be like, well, we did all this stuff for Wii Sports Resort as well, and we've got the better controllers now. The Joy-Cons are better than Wii Motion Plus. So, like, why didn't they just go in and do like some of the fun stuff, some of the Pilot Wingsy stuff that was in Resort? Like, I just don't get it.
I mean, they could be planning on doing that over the next 2 years or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but it's too late. I think that. I mean, I feel like the Switch is coming to the end. Like.
Well, I mean, that's why why this seems like it could be a pack-in for a new version of the Switch.
Yeah, like a Switch Pro or something. Like, I just feel like there's more and more titles now where I feel like the Switch is like showing its age, and it's
Or maybe that's why this is coming out now, because the Switches will get cheap enough that you could just buy a shitty Switch for your grandparents to play Wii Sports on.
I mean, that's not a terrible thought, really. If the Switch, if everything becomes like Switch Lite prices, but it's actually the full S. Maybe it's a Switch that isn't portable, like they do. It's just a Switch Mini.
You can't have a 2D Switch. That's just
yeah, a 2DS version of the Switch. But no, like a Switch Mini that just is only console mode, only plugs into your TV, and it's super cheap. Interesting thought.
Yeah.
But they haven't announced any of that.
Yeah, but
they've pretty much blankly said it's like we're not working on like doing a. They've said quite so far that there isn't really any plans to do anything to Switch hardware past OLED at the moment. To Switch hardware, So how who knows how far away we are from whatever their next thing is. Switch Sports. It's also not as good a name as Wii Sports.
Well, it's because it's Nintendo Switch Sports. It's not even just Switch Sports. Yeah. They put the whole thing in there.
It's Nintendo Switch Sports.
They should have just called it Sports.
yeah, why not? Or just Nintendo Sports.
Yeah, all that.
That would be fine. Doesn't have to be Switch Sports.
Or Motion Sports. Go back to the motion.
Sports. Oh yeah, like motion boxing. Where was it?
Yeah.
Or...
They just need to get people to realize that it's the same thing as Wii Sports. That's where presumably 1-2 Switch didn't work. Right?
Yeah, maybe. It's just like if you'd be like, you remember that sports game you used to like on the Wii? Well, here is the new version. You can still bowl.
I mean, if they wanted proper brand awareness, then surely they should have called it Wii Sports Switch.
That's brand confusion. That's not brand.
Wii Sports 4 Switch. Super Smash Bros. For Wii
U. That was also bad.
Advance Wars 1+2 reboot code. Mario Kart. Should we talk Mario Kart?
Mario Kart.
Yes.
So the rumours around an exciting new release were grossly inflated.
Well, not grossly inflated. There was an exciting new release. It just wasn't a new game. Yeah. Except it was kind of a new game.
I mean, it's
the amount of content equal to a new game.
It's just massively disappointing for someone like me. It's like I'm in the awkward niche that had a Wii U, I guess. So right, they're not doing a Mario Kart 9 yet. Is the news. Instead, they're going to add what is in fact a very good deal and a very large quantity of DLC to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which on its own, not really a problem. My problem is
this game's fine. It's a platform.
I mean, you may be doing this DLC stuff maybe 2 years later than you should have done, but you're doing it. Okay, that's fine. That's okay. I would have much preferred a Mario Kart 9, but that's okay. What makes it like if you just take it on that level, sure, it makes total sense. My problem is that Mario Kart 8 is like nearly a decade-old game at this point, and I played it on the Wii U. And I played it to death on the Wii U, and I played the DLC on the Wii U, and that brought it up to effectively what Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was, only without the whole 2-character thing and some of the extra characters they added. And I think there's a couple of extra tracks in Deluxe that never made it into the Wii U version. But for the most part, Mario Kart 8 with the DLC is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So I've never felt the need to buy Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I've been there. I've done that. I don't need another copy. And then they go and pull this on me. Like it's like how many tracks did they say? Like 40 odd that are being added for $25. That's a bargain.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Well, I mean, how cheaply can you buy the base game at this point? That's the trick.
Not cheaply. It's not like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is still one of the best-selling games in the world.
Sure, but there's got to be like a shit ton of second-hand copies, though, right?
Maybe. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I haven't checked the second-hand market, but if you're looking for new copies,
well,
it's like
Nintendo tax.
Yeah, Nintendo tax. It's like it never goes down. Never, ever, ever. I mean, it's occasionally on deal, but like a 30% deal or something like that, which still makes it like nearly 40 quid. Yeah, I don't know. This winds me up a little bit. It's just like it's time, guys. It's time for a Mario Kart 9. Stop being Nintendo about this. Except it's not Nintendo about this. Is the least Nintendo move for like Mario Kart.
I mean, there will be another Mario Kart, but like I don't know. Are we reaching the end of some of it? Is there going to be another Smash Brothers ever?
Well, I mean that's what we said about Mario Kart 8, where it's just like they're clearly running out of ideas at this point. Where it's just like, I mean, even this DLC, they're just remaking old tracks. It's just like there's nothing new in Mario Kart. That's why we always say be like go back to Double Dash.
Yeah,
make it weird and have a different game mechanic.
But they sort of have done that, haven't they, in Deluxe by adding the 2-character thing back?
Sort
Kind
of.
Yeah. Or not 2 characters. So it's the 2-item thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's not quite as weird and wonderful as Double Dash was.
No.
And not quite as odd feeling as Double Dash was.
That was the other thing about Double Dash that was weird.
I like its strange handling, yeah. But that's the thing. Like, I think that's part of why I think this is like it's time for a new Mario Kart. It's like, Mario Kart 8 is incredibly similar to Mario Kart 7, which was incredibly similar to Mario Kart Wii. But there are slight changes in how the handling works and how it feels, and that has been enough in the past to keep it interesting. And I know they sort of get around that a little bit now by having all the various different carts that you can pick that do handle very slightly differently from one another, but it is always very slight. Like, it just needed something more. Some sort of refresh, some extra batch of weird and wonderful items, or just turn it into damn Nintendo Kart at this point, like Super Smash Kart or something. Just go all in. It's not what I was after, Nintendo. You have disappointed me. I don't want to buy Mario Kart 8, is what I'm saying.
No, you already bought it.
Unless for like £1, if you can find some second-hand copy on eBay.
Yeah. Good news for those people that bought into the terrible value for money's expansion pass plus, whatever it's like, Nintendo Online plus expansion pass thing, because you'll get the DLC for free. Ish. Because it's effectively you're paying for it with your subscription.
Yes.
Right.
Because you're not going to do much else with that thing.
Unless you have Animal Crossing.
That's true. Do you get any new, Earthbounds on your virtual console thing? What's it
but that's SNES though. That's on base online.
That's the base one.
It's not part of expansion pass.
Right.
What's that? Because what was that NES Earthbound game? Did that ever come out? Like, is that like a new translation?
No, that's been out on Wii Virtual Console, I think.
Okay. I just couldn't remember if like that...
Because of course they would translate original Mother and Earthbound, which is Mother 2, but never Mother 3, the one that people actually want.
Never Mother 3. Gotta hold that back. Hold that back for the real dark times.
Have you played Mother 3 on emulator?
No.
Nah.
No. I guess that never got translated, did it?
Not officially.
Okay.
There's plenty of fan translations out there, but and that was the Direct. Afterwards, Nintendo did have a snippet of less good news that they obviously held back from the Direct, which is that the Wii U and Nintendo 3DS eShops will be closing. And you'll be unable to put money into those stores as of May this year. But the store itself will stay live for you to spend your money that you've already got on the platform until March next year.
Right.
So you've got a year, guys, to get what you need off the platform. The preservation teams have a time limit now.
Yeah, get to work, save all the old games.
Absolutely. Nintendo have been very anti-preservationist, like at the moment. They seem to be doing even more than usual to try and block that sort of action.
Why? What have you heard?
I've basically skimmed a Kotaku article headline
about it. Okay, fair.
No, it was like the video game. I forget what it's called. Is it the Video Game Historians or something like that? There's like an organization, like a non-profit that basically just tries to effectively keep copies of every game ever made, no matter how big and small. It's like it's a serious preservation effort. And Nintendo actually like maybe one of the few people that actually do legal stuff that makes their job very difficult. Like just to keep things in a library sense. Like even so, if you know how libraries used to keep copies of games because it's and music even sometimes it's like like Nintendo actually do legal stuff to stop libraries from being able to do that.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
It's crazy.
So yeah, they're a bit of a. I mean, it's all about money, obviously. Nintendo make a huge amount of money off their back catalog forever, so they want to protect it. But it's a little worrying when you get these store closures, and it's like, well, what's going to happen about the stuff that leaves? And Nintendo are out there literally just saying, yeah, we've got no plans for any of that right now. And it's like, well, what's happening to it then? Then they're like, shrug.
Dunno. We plan to sell it to you for full price in 10 years.
Yeah. Dunno, don't care.
I mean, it's not
buy a Switch.
Not any different from any other online store ever. It's just that most of them haven't shut down yet.
No, that's true. And Sony have I mean, that still feels relatively soon. I don't know, like relatively recent. Even though it isn't, there's something about it that feels like that doesn't feel like it's been very long. I feel like Sony kept like the PSP stores up for way longer.
And everyone definitely already downloaded everything off that because it was hella easy.
Piracy Central. I don't know if much happened on the Vita side of things.
Yeah, I don't know.
Nothing Nintendo news.
Things.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I didn't hear you say.
No, that's all right. Yeah, so that's the Direct. We got any other news nuggets from this week? That seems to be the main.
Yeah, there's the bulk of it.
Not this week. It was the week before.
the only note I made is that about missed news we didn't really talk about regarding the acquisition of Bethesda. Going back to that stuff with Xbox, Phil Spencer has in the past said that Elder Scrolls 6 will be a console exclusive. So, you know, with all the talk going around about that Activision acquisition, how Call of Duty is, and the relationship with PlayStation is important.
Right.
This is one of those cases where it's clearly not that important.
Right. Well, I mean, it's Bethesda, and it's an Elder Scrolls game that was like it's a whole other game away. Still, they still haven't released Starfield yet.
No, you're right. But it is the next Elder Scrolls. Yeah.
I mean, if it's as successful as Skyrim, I'm sure it'll be released on every platform imaginable over the following 10 years.
Yeah, so I guess it's not clear. I guess he wasn't clear whether he meant like a timed exclusive or a like a platform exclusive, where it was just going to be Xbox and it was never going to go to Switch or PC, PlayStation.
Right?
Yeah, of course it will be on PC.
Yeah, it's on PC.
Yeah, of course it will be on PC.
I mean, all we need to know about it is what engine they're using, because if they're still using the same engine, then it will go everywhere because that's just they've already done the work.
Oh, it will be some variant of whatever they've got, like for Skyrim Special Edition.
God, I really hope not. I hope Microsoft tells them to do. I hope Microsoft just gives them money to stop using that engine.
Yeah, for the love of God, use Unreal. No, it'll be whatever's powering Starfield, right?
God, I hope that isn't like.
It'd be so funny if Starfield came out. It would just look like Fallout 3.
4, yeah.
The creation engine.
Yeah.
That's quite funny.
I still feel like we haven't seen nearly enough of Starfield for a game that's meant to come out later this year.
Yeah, what is it, November 11th?
Yeah.
Because they've committed to the date.
Yeah, they said a date in a trailer video.
Risky.
We shall see. Right, yeah, I guess the other thing going on is games are coming out, but we haven't played them yet, but there's Horizon and stuff come out and stuff like that. So a few things happening.
Yeah.
Coming soon, so.
Reviews for Horizon make it sound like it's another one of those.
Did we talk about the Gran Turismo reveal?
I mean, it did happen before the last podcast. I don't know if I think we touched on it, but we didn't talk about it a huge deal. I don't know. There's bits of it. There's bits of it. I mean, it looks nice in places. It looks ropey in others, and it looks like a Gran Turismo game. I don't understand the coffee menu for like achievements, but
It's not just a coffee; it's a whole cafe that you can sit down and like look at your achievements.
I'll have a nice bowl of car.
A bowl of car. I guess so, with your cappuccino. Yeah, so we'll see. But we should probably talk about what we have been buying, I guess.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
We don't have to.
Well, we could talk about something else.
We could see what the sentient pizza has to say.
The sentient pizza that is doomed to the bin.
I'm sorry, Doe. Forgive me.
It's not your fault that you lost power
Forgive me.
2 days.
We should have put that really old yeast in there and have them fight.
What makes some old dough and some new dough?
Yeah, just take the old yeast and make some. Just put that into some of the dough and then mash them together and see what happens.
What, like
the dough interface,
like a yin yang dough?
Yeah.
Or like, I mean, they do that with 2 different doughs, don't they, to make like twisted baguettes and things. Or like,
but I'm sure that's not different yeast.
No, probably not. No. I mean, it'd be really weird. Wouldn't it like just make giant holes with like flat bits where it hasn't risen and like really poofy bits?
It depends if the yeast acts differently.
I mean, if the yeast's dead,
Then yes, you'll get flat bread on one side and then less flat bread on the other.
it's like a different sort of calzone. Like, but you don't fold it over. You've just got a thin base, a thin crust, and a thick crust in the same pizza.
I'm surprised someone hasn't tried to do that yet. It's like a stuffed
maybe
crust.
they have.
Yeah, maybe it's really tough.
Well, yeah. Actually, I'm surprised. You could quite easily make a half stuffed crust, right? Because all you're really doing in a stuffed crust is folding something into half of the crust.
Yeah, you could totally do that.
Or 2 different halves that have different stuff.
You can have a stuffed crust on one side, the cheesy bites on the other side. And then a random hot dog sticking through the middle.
Always put a random disgusting hot dog.
I mean, obviously they don't do that because it's much easier to standardize.
Yeah.
Half and halves are already a problem, just to even make one.
I mean,
with different
I don't know why that's still not back, right? Domino's still won't do a half and half, like, since the pandemic, because I guess they're claiming, it's too much effort.
I didn't know that had gone away.
Yeah, that went away for as soon as COVID became, because they reduced all the menus for like takeouts and things. Like Pizza Hut and Domino's like scaled back when COVID hit to be like, okay, we're running a easier menu to make it easier on ourselves, and half hasn't come back. At least not in Domino's. I don't know what. I haven't looked at Pizza Hut because I can't get it here.
Is that so they can have more COVID secure in their kitchens or something?
I have no idea.
They must have more orders than ever during the pandemic.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, I've got no idea.
Probably just the supply chain.
It's
not anything to do with them cooking it. It's to do with them keeping the ingredients.
I mean, the reduction in the menu. Yeah, 100%. I can understand that. It's like, but their inability to do a half and a half. I like what. Is that just because they were getting so many orders? In which case, like, okay, maybe it's to make their lives a little easier, but it's not that much effort.
Or maybe they just, as a part of the reduced menu, they're like, we can sort of reduce the amount of different menu items people are ordering on top of just reducing it by getting rid of the half and half, because that will force people to order more standardized things with less variations.
They won't be going into the create your own sections. Yeah, because they did stop that for a bit as well. They stopped the create your own, I think. So you had to buy a menu item.
Right.
But that stuff's back. That stuff came back pretty quickly, actually.
But you can't have one half with one selection and another with another.
Disappointing. Because I used to do that all the damn time. I'm the annoying one that just likes variety.
No, it's good, though. Damn them. Bring it back. Well,
yeah. Bring back the half and half. Half and half rights.
Exactly. Pizza rights. Half pizza rights. All right. What have you been playing?
Discrimination against holies. The halfies and the holies. It's not a thing.
I think Zach, you better tell us what you've been playing over the past couple of weeks.
Well, not much. So this is not going to be a particularly long section, which is probably a good idea. continued chipping away at Pokemon Pearl very slowly because I could never force myself to commit any amount of time to it because it's the grind. It's just like every time I turn it on, I'm like, I'll just play this for 15 minutes, but that's not really enough time to get any grinding done. Or any significant amount of grinding. So yeah, I have just been chipping away at it very slowly. I've got all the Pokemon on my team up to level 50 now, and I'm aiming for 60. So
is that the sweet spot for the Elite Four?
Yeah, because I just looked it up. I was just like, what level is the highest level in the Elite Four? And it's like 66. So I'm like, well, 60 is probably enough then.
Okay.
Although, again, I might not actually use any of these Pokemon. I might just steamroll everything with my, 82 starter Pokemon that I've just used to kill everything else in this game.
But you want to feel a bit like a game.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm doing it. Because it's just like, when you realise that you can just steamroll the whole game with just one Pokemon, it's like, oh, Pokemon kind of sucks. And it always has. It's just,
It's true.
If you try and play it really, it's much better.
I like that. It's just like some kind of existential crisis washing over you. It's like, Pokemon's always sucked.
I mean, that probably depends more on what generation you're in, because I guess this is still early enough that it's much easier to steamroll everything just by being over-leveled. Because there was less dual types, because they'd only just started introducing that, and then they hadn't rebalanced the moves, because then in a couple of generations after this, I think they rebalance what is effective against what when they introduce a few new types.
Right. And did they debuff not very effectives even further at some point? So it's like if you're against type, is it just not very usable?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't know if it was this game that changed it, but there was they increased immunities, flying is immune to ground in the same way that Ghost is immune to normal.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Because I think that was this game. It might have been the one before. I guess I didn't play the one before, so I wouldn't have known. But yeah, once they started making the types make slightly more sense, and they were like, oh, we could actually expand this to make more sense. And
it became the moves that were important over the Pokemon type, is that right? So if you did a normal move, had more of an influence than if the Pokemon was normal
Well,
type?
It was because once basically everything started being dual types, that gives you the chance to have 4 times effective if it's double super effective.
Sure.
And then 4 times ineffective. So that's when, because the moves are only single type, when you're fighting against a double type Pokemon, it makes it more important to know what the type matchup is against both of those for your one type of move. But yeah, you can just plow through with over leveling.
I guess types were always that slightly more memorable than the damn Zodiac system from Final Fantasy Tactics.
Yes, but the Zodiac system from Final Fantasy Tactics was not just like a Zodiac system, it was an unnecessarily complicated Zodiac system. Because it wasn't just this is good against this, it's this Zodiac symbol is good against the ones adjacent to it, but bad against the ones opposite to it.
Oh, so it was always in the circle?
It's in a circle.
Oh, I didn't realise it I thought it would just have some nice clear rules.
But then
I suppose that is fairly clear.
But then that applies to offense. But then if you're trying to heal someone, it also applies. So if you're trying to heal someone who has the wrong Zodiac sign, you just can't because it sucks.
Oh wow!
It's this. It's really unnecessarily complicated.
Huh? Do you reckon? How complicated do you think the system in Triangle Strategy is going to be?
Not nearly as complicated as that. It's going to be more Tactics Advance.
Okay.
Typical strategy game complexity.
Roll it back a bit.
Yeah. Yes, I don't think anyone missed the Zodiac system going away.
I wonder if they kept it in War of the Lions, because that was the PSP
the version of it. I think they probably did, because it's kind of integral to the way that game works.
Oh, okay.
Also, damn it, now you've reminded me about the second layer of that system, faith and bravery.
Right.
Because you have the Zodiacs where it's just you have the ones you're bad against and the ones you're good against. But then you're in your stats where it's just you have all the usual shit like strength and defense and all that stuff. You also have faith and bravery, where faith actually, the higher your faith stat, the better magic works on you, both offensively and defensively, because you believe in it more.
Oh, interesting. Huh.
So if you're trying to heal someone who has really bad faith, you can't do that either because that sucks.
So it's more of a affinity, I suppose, than I guess faith is probably a bad term for it. But
Probably.
yeah.
But then bravery is sort of the same thing, but for physical attacking, except that then there's the really unnecessary.
So it's the glass cannon factor,
kind of. But then it's like this really unnecessary extra level to this of faith and bravery, where you can modify those stats through like moves in battle, like buffs or whatever. But there's an upper limit to faith and a lower limit to bravery, where if you go past them, the unit just becomes unable to do anything. Like if you go too high in faith, you become like too pious to fight, and if you go too low in bravery, you become too much of a coward to fight. So you just become disabled.
Oh wow! Huh? And what? So those can change mid-fight?
Yeah, because it's just like a stat buff.
Oh wow!
So if you want,
that's quite fun.
So if you want a really good healer, you have to get like a lot of faith, but not too much.
Huh. That's hilarious. So can you permanently disable a character by overleveling that, and you have to debuff them and make them?
Yeah, I don't know if that I don't remember how like the level up system works for gaming stats, but yeah, It's a highly unnecessarily complicated system.
That's really strange. I kind of dig it. Outside looking in, but I bet it's a pain in the ass.
Yes, mainly because it's an old game where this kind of information is difficult to look up in the middle of a fight or whatever.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, how do I get to the fucking Zodiac wheel? I probably look in the manual.
There's probably just too much going on during an actual battle to keep track of all that.
Well, yeah, and then you're having to be like selecting a unit and looking at its stats page and figuring out what Zodiac sign it is and what its stat bonuses are.
Yeah. Slightly off topic.
Yep. Well, I mean, that was a convenient part to fill some time, because I guess I haven't played much else apart from I reinstalled a game I haven't played since 2018 according to Steam. I reinstalled City Skylines at last. I kept saying I might, and then I did.
Oh yeah.
Has there been updates since you played it?
Well, I mean, there's been a shit ton of DLC, of course, because that's what they do, what Paradox does. But I haven't got any of that.
Airport one, isn't there? I think.
Yes, the most recent one is airports.
But they don't really add much to the, mechanics that much.
Well, I mean, I think they kind of do sometimes. Like the airport one, I mean, it changes completely how you build airports, obviously, because it makes it all modular. So you're actually designing the actual layout of the airport rather than just whacking down a giant building, essentially. But then it also changes the mechanics slightly to do with like cargo transport and whatnot, where you can have like actual cargo terminals that are a part of an airport, so they're like separated out from passengers, and you can have purely cargo airports or whatever, that kind of stuff. So I think those do kind of change the mechanics occasionally. Sometimes the DLCs, like the Industries one, I think also did something kind of similar, where it makes you can have instead of just zoning industrial, you have like almost an industrial estate, I guess, except it's one industry, so you have individual buildings inside that, and then it can actually process materials, so it leads specific deliveries, and you have to set up a supply chain and all that kind of stuff. I think that's how that works. So the DLCs can make some mechanical differences, but as far as me reinstalling the vanilla base game version, I also made it not very vanilla, because I immediately went and downloaded a ton of mods.
Yeah. Because
as of previously, I'm sure I've talked about on the podcast ages ago, the standard one that obviously you have to use is the traffic manager one that lets you do all like the lane assigning and all that stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Which makes the traffic system just way better and much easier to handle. But then this time I was like, well, okay, occasionally I'll see videos of people playing City Skylines, and I'm kind of aware of some of these mods. So I was just like, let me download some more of these on top of the traffic manager one. So I started, it's like you just add more layers on top of that. So you have the traffic manager one where you're like, you can assign the lanes essentially. So you can be like, this lane is only left turn or whatever, that kind of thing, which obviously helps immensely for junctions.
Right.
And then on top of that, you've got like, you add like the node editor where you can actually like adjust the shape of the junction. So because a lot of the time when you're building roads in that game, it will just be like weird jank, because it limits how stuff will join, obviously, because of the angles and the collisions and whatever. So you'll just end up with like weird looking junctions. But now with the node editor, you can be like, well, if I make this road get wider as it enters the junction, then it will line up better, and I can like angle that entrance so that the like, I guess crosswalks are the only thing that it actually changes, will line up better with where the actual roads are.
Okay.
And that kind of stuff. And then on top of that, you add I guess it's not specifically for roads, but that's what I'm using it for. This mod that basically just lets you move anything, where it will you can just pick up. Well, it's not really pick up; it's more like slide around. I suppose you just slide stuff around, and people will use that for literally building cities. But I'm only using it for the roads because you can grab the nodes of the roads and actually shift them, and then like adjust the curvature if you've made a curve. So you can basically just make things much neater than you would usually be able to with the base game's click and drag drawing of roads. Because a lot of the time in that game it's like, well, I want to make a nice 90-degree curve, so you go up 5 units and across 5 units, and then it just makes it, and it's like, that's good. But then if you're doing anything that's not a 90-degree curve, then you're starting to get into weird like half tile lengths and all kinds of stuff that just makes it kind of janky to work with after a while. So obviously using that, you can make things much more precise. And then there's what for me is now the top layer of this stack of modding, where it's just like, now we get into the completely unnecessary, fully aesthetic mods, where it's like, now I've downloaded the lane...
Arcologies.
No. Well, I mean, those would be mechanics. I've downloaded the lane markings tool, because when in the base game, when it makes a junction, it just makes the sort of, I guess you'd call it a generic American junction, where it's just like a big flat slab of concrete in the middle.
Right, yeah.
There's no markings at all. But now that you can actually adjust all these nodes and get all these roads better lined up, and you can change what lanes go where, it's like, now you can actually just paint the road markings yourself and make a properly, fully functioning junction that actually looks like it should.
But the cars don't follow it?
Well, the cars follow the rules that you've set out.
Okay.
And because the lane markings mod is basically using the exact same tool, which is like, you select... in each junction node, it has like a point on each of the inbound lanes and a point on each of the outbound lanes, and you join them up with a line.
Oh, I see. Cool.
So that's how you do the lanes, but then the lane marking tool uses basically that same thing. So
so it's
not
like
drawing
a
along the same
paintbrush
line, basically.
You made it sound like you were just literally getting a paintbrush out and just like, I've drawn my own lines on it. This is the happy face junction.
Not quite. It is still point to point, although it does have some fairly advanced like options for that. Like, you can, if you draw between 2 points but the lines intersect, you can like shorten one of them so it only goes up to where it crosses over the other line. And you can like select areas if you want like chevrons or whatever.
Oh, okay. I'm surprised they haven't just... Do the two mods just automatically...
Well, that's what I imagined, right? Because if you're doing lane assignment, it should just automatically just paint those lines in for you. I'm not sure if there is an option somewhere to do that.
Yeah, or maybe there's a mod manager that can link them together, or...
Yeah, possibly. But I feel like with the way that you link up lanes most of the time using the traffic manager, it would be either too much of a mess or like too generic for the rules of the line painting to make sense. Because, I mean...
It would be nice for it to have a go.
Yeah, kind of. Although, conversely, that would be annoying to have to go in and fix it rather than just building from scratch.
Yeah, but it might be most of the way there, I guess. But you can always just... That'd be a one click to be like, I'll just clear it. I want to do it.
Yeah, I suppose. It would just be like an undo. So there's that. And then I downloaded a couple of additional mods on top of that for like... some fixes, like FPS fixes and like loading time fixes.
Oh, really?
Just make that game run better, such as it is.
So is there like a mod manager tool for layering all these things up?
Not really. It just kind of manages itself.
Huh.
I'm not sure what there are a couple of like dependency mods, which I assume must do some of the work for load order type stuff. But yeah, I fiddled around with that. It's far too easy to get down to like editing a junction and then just work on one junction for like 15 minutes and be like, this is not a good spend of this time, really. But it looks cool and it'll work real well.
Yeah, that's what matters.
If you ever go for a job in like city planning, maybe you can be all like, "Well, I've got plenty of experience with like road junctions."
Except that's my actual problem. Where I was just like, when I was trying to build like a new highway junction or whatever coming off the main road into towns. And I was like, how do I build this? Well, on the first one, I built the exact junction that we know around here, the raised oval roundabout with slip rams.
Okay.
Standard. But then on the second one, I was like, well, this one might need to be higher capacity, so maybe I should build something more fancy with like highway overpasses and stuff. And then I tried to do that, and I was just like, I have no idea how these are even meant to work.
I mean, I have to go research.
Yeah, I just go and look at a map and be like, how do these actually work in real life?
I mean, looking at them in real life, I think no one really knows.
No,
they're all different.
Like even if you look on Google Maps, you have to zoom in. You can see like here's a big mass of roads, but you have to zoom in all the way down to where it'll actually show the directional arrows to be like, okay, well, where do these roads actually go? What is joined to what?
They're always messy.
But that is the actual thing about trying to look at a real life map of like junctions like that. It's like that's not how you do it in the game, because in real life you have all these other constrictions of like land management and like the roads are never actually straight on or whatever, and sometimes you don't need to go in every direction, so you've got all these weird junctions that only allow you to go northbound or whatever.
I always remember the like, I don't know, roads are weird, right? Like they're always properly weird. The designs always seem like wrong, because I always remember like, I think it's all different now. I think they've changed it all, but like where the A14 effectively ends at Cambridge and actually becomes a different road, but it's still the A14, but you have to do it like a jink across the junction is really weird, because like for starters there's two like slip roads to the left, one goes to one place and one goes somewhere else, so you have to get on the right one of those, and then that does like it does a 180 on itself, and then but it doesn't like do a left turn 270 to like get on the direction you actually want to be going. You do this 180 and then you end up on a stretch of road that's effectively a zipper. Like, so there's merging traffic from both sides that want to get into like the other lane to get to where they need to go. So you've got cars going freaking everywhere on this weird bit of patch of road, and so you got to get on the right lane there, and then you end up going the right direction. And then by that point, you've done 270 degrees, and then you slip onto the actual road you want to be. It's so weird. It was. I'm sure it's all been completely ripped out now because they were doing a lot of work around there. But it was such a weird bit. That threw me like for ages. Like when I had to do, I used to do that route like every couple of weeks, didn't I? So it was just. It took me a couple weeks to remember exactly what was going on.
Because when I started looking at these, like making these junctions in the game, I started to like go back to the old Open Transport Tycoon like railway junctions, because it's basically the same idea,
right?
I mean, it boils down to being like, well, for us on left-hand drive, it's like you always split left before merging and that kind of thing when you're trying to make it as efficient as possible. So you've got as few like opportunities for traffic to interfere with each other. But then when you actually, there's like, I was looking on Google Maps again at like some weird junctions where it's just like, there's all kinds of weird like, there's a couple of roads where like the intersection comes into the middle and is like a middle lane intersection where like two other lane, like the main road comes around this bridge and then the bridge merges in the middle. And I'm like, well, that can't be safe, surely.
I can't even picture it exactly. It just sounds odd.
Yeah, but it's just like, it's all about, I mean, that's why it gets like this in the game, is that now, because you can manage the lanes and you can shape the junctions, it allows you to actually make these things work so much better than they would in the base game. Because you can actually be like, you have to stay in your lane in this junction, or you can only turn left in this junction.
And then the simulation actually is affected by this.
Yeah, then the cars actually follow it and actually lane change appropriately, or mostly appropriately.
Because how does the simulation work in Cities Skylines compared to that SimCity, latest SimCity, which actually had individual?
It had like actors, didn't it? Actually traversing. And...
Well, I mean, they sort of do it in Skylines as well. It's not quite as strict, I would say. Like it. I mean, you can also, this is part of this mod, you can just turn off despawning. So you can be like, if you get stuck in a traffic jam, you just have to stay there until it just sorts itself out, rather than just disappearing eventually.
Amazing.
But yeah, it's sort of similar to the SimCity one, because it does have what I guess it was.
Is it sort of like it influences rather than like is just how it works?
Yeah, because I don't think it. I don't think it necessarily matters as much in City Skylines if a certain person goes to a certain place as it did in SimCity, where it's just like, if this person doesn't get to this shop, then they don't get the shopping bonus or whatever, and then the house,
and they die.
Then the commercial zone goes out of business or whatever. That still happens in Skylines, but it seems like it's much more sort of lenient on it, where it's like it will try several times or whatever, or like
that makes sense.
A certain percentage of people have to make it. Or
it's a gradual decline as opposed to like, this guy didn't make it, it's boned.
Yeah, but the traffic simulation is definitely much more, well, I mean, with the mods, it's very manageable. It's very precise. The only trouble with it is how...
Is there a slider for dick drivers?
Yes, there actually is.
Oh, okay.
Although I'm not sure that's a slide, that might be a drop down. There's a reckless driver percentage where you can... I'm not sure what that even does, because like the traffic can't actually collide. It probably just causes like fires, maybe.
Maybe. Or maybe it just causes blockages because they're simulating crashes or something.
Or maybe, I guess the vehicles don't necessarily collide, but they do sort of obstruct each other, so maybe it makes people cut across traffic more.
Yeah. Well, that'd be pretty cool.
Because, yeah, like, one of the other parts of the Traffic Manager mod, apart from the lane management, you can do, like, you can turn off traffic lights and have, like, yield instead. Or if you really want to, you could actually go and like actually program the traffic lights, which I did try and do on one junction because I had like a full-on 2 avenues cross junction, and I was like, that's going to be a disaster because that's always what is. You're not meant to do that. I only ever make T junctions, but I had to have a full cross there, and I was like, well, maybe this would be an opportunity to try and learn how to use the traffic light programming. But I'm not sure I necessarily succeeded. It seems okay, but it's not that much traffic yet. Not that much going along that road.
You need to tune it so like during rush hours,
well, because
these roads get priority.
It is also meant to have like auto tuning. Like you can you can tell it how sensitive it should be to the condition, and you can change the condition between like how long the queue is, or I don't know what the other conditions are really, but I don't fully understand what that actually means. But yeah, when you're trying, the main problem with it is just that I don't know what numbers I'm meant to put in for like how long the signal should stay.
Right?
Is 5
like in terms of how what's relevant to the simulation? You mean?
Yeah, I don't know what the scale of these numbers are, and I don't know how I should actually account for that. But yeah, you can set like minimum and maximum on the traffic lights, and you can also in the traffic lights you can then set lights for like specific directions. So if you've got a turning lane, you can have an individual traffic light for that, which in my case I was using for I had it in the more traditional traffic light arrangement of like left turns and straight on one light and right turns on a secondary light, so you can have only right turns go from both sides diagonally across, because that's safe.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
because then there's no overlap. And then you can also configure when the pedestrians get to go as well individually. Which
where each individual pedestrian is like, right, this is Bob's slot.
But yeah, in this junction I was like, well, there's not really anywhere that the pedestrians fit in here, so I'll have to have a full separate, all the traffic lights are on red and just have the pedestrians go segment. But yeah, it gets kind of ridiculous.
I mean, yeah, I guess you could like design it like Shibuya, hold everyone up for ages, and then just have a mad person dash.
Yeah, pretty much. Although luckily in Skylines, the pedestrians are very quick and they bunch up a lot. As in, they bunch up literally onto a tiny point, and then it will just go poof in one. So you can have the pedestrian crossings be like 3 seconds.
That's cool.
Or 3 whatever in-game time units are.
3 units.
But yeah, that's getting into some quite precise detail where it's just like you can spend a long time fiddling around with it. And then like with the road markings, it's just like, oh, I can make this look so nice. Make these generic ass giant slabs of concrete actually look like they actually have lanes. Particularly when you're doing Y junctions or whatever, where it's just like you want a nice big chevron or a big lump of grass in the middle.
But do they have like UK markings?
Oh, I mean, I'm sure you could download that. Well, you can download that. You can download UK textures for the roads, and then the markings are more generic, where you just select from the drop-down box whether it's like dashed or solid or double dashed or whatever.
And then does it have like a left side of the road mode?
I mean, the whole game does.
Oh, cool.
You just switch it to left-hand traffic.
Nice.
But yeah, so I played some of that, but didn't actually progress the city much because I was fiddling around with traffic for ages. And I also downloaded some mods for I downloaded the mod that lets you unlock all of the map at the end, because that game has milestones where population milestones. So every certain number of people, you unlock the ability to unlock another tile on the map to expand into. But in the base game, once you get to the end of the unlock tree, you don't get any more unlocks. But it doesn't cover the whole map area. So there's just a mod where it's just once you get to the end of the unlock tree, you can buy all the tiles if you want. Just unlock the whole map. So I downloaded that. But then now I'm thinking maybe I don't actually want this unlock tree at all. Maybe I should just. I don't think you need to download a mod for that. I think there's basically a built-in mod for turning off the unlock tree and for infinite money if you want that, or infinite landscaping. So you can just toggle those on and off. But I don't know. I feel I haven't decided whether it's too late or whether I should start over, or whether just turning on this mod in the middle of the game would be a good idea. Because sometimes that works, but sometimes that's fuck everything up. Because that's how mods work.
Yep. Who knows what they're doing at the data structures?
Yeah. Yeah, that was Sea Skylines. I didn't really play much of that. That was only the last 2 days. Right, I just started that. And apart from that, I don't think I've really played anything else. Some Rocket League, mainly.
Yeah. We obviously played some more Hyrule.
Yep.
As you do. Standard.
Still haven't done another main mission over this last 2 weeks.
No, we did. We've got old Zelda now.
Oh, right, yeah, we did the Fort Hapno mission.
Yeah. Not strictly a new character, but a new weapon set for Zelda, so her moveset's entirely different.
Yeah. And I don't understand it at all. I was the only one who tried it.
Yeah, I haven't tried it yet.
But yeah, I definitely need to well, first of all, I'd have to actually read the actual description to see what it actually says it does.
Yeah.
Because there's some moves in that moveset where you just get glowing rings attached to the enemy, and I'm not sure if that's a thing that you can trigger in a different part of the combo to do more damage, or whether that's just literally an effect.
Or is that the right trigger special or something?
No, because the right trigger special is you go into super mode where you just
Is it a bit like the Get Big from the Monk?
Kind of,
but the Get Big's like a one hit.
Yeah, it's a toggle. So you toggle into super mode, and I think while you're... This is, again, things that I'd actually need to notice to be able to tell.
Yeah.
But I think while you're in the super mode, it drains your special bar.
Oh, interesting.
Not in one big chunk, but actually gradually, as if you were building it up.
Okay.
And you just have a completely different set of attacks, but they're more just high damage, but area of effects.
Okay.
Rather than single targets. But then I toggling in and out of that mode. It seems like if you let your special bar run out, then you kind of get screwed in some way. If you're still in that mode when the special bar empties, you kind of get exhausted mode maybe for a second, for a little bit.
Uh-huh.
I don't know, it's kind of hard to tell. Like I said, I don't really understand what the fuck is going on with that moveset. Or what you're even meant to do with it.
Be very bright.
Yeah, basically. Just glow a lot. But we once again, really the real reason why we haven't progressed much in that game is we had a couple of missions where we got hella stuck a long time.
There are some real toughies.
Really?
It's getting really hard now.
Well, it's mainly because we don't give up. That's our actual problem.
Well, yeah.
The problem with Rukia and fucking what's his face? Not Rukia. Riju and Tabor. And we were just on that mission forever when we should have just quit these different characters.
We should have bailed, yeah. Those characters were not suited to that. But the problem was it felt doable. And it's there was a certain element of the challenge that's the fun of this game.
Well, and also, most of the times when this happens, it's on the last checkpoint. And you don't want to waste all this effort you've got done getting to this last checkpoint.
You end up in a sunk cost fallacy state where it's just like, but it's taken us forever to get here. And we've just got this last little bit to do. Let's just keep slogging at it. Because that happened in the main mission, right? We got stuck on a real tricky end bit. And we just couldn't get over it. And it took us like an hour and a half, like extra, to get through this last little bit. And I'm like, I need to go to sleep.
Yep.
but I was weirdly awake that week, so it was fine.
But as always with those things, I mean, it is actually a factor of the difficulty is that we're always on like no health as well.
Yeah.
When it checkpoints usually.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which sometimes leads to the hilarious the funny checkpoint we had where Rob basically dies within 1 second of the checkpoint every time unless he remembers to dodge.
It's like, oh god.
That was a very weird checkpoint. I don't think I've ever seen a checkpoint that bad in that game.
And because the checkpoints when a significant moment happens, but because the two players can be off doing two separate battles at the same time, I might still be in the middle of a fight when Zach completes a significant moment. So I could be like, and that's exactly what happened here. Zach had finished a thing. It's usually when success appears on screen. It's like for your current mission objective. That's when it's usually checkpointing you. I was still in the middle of a big old fight. I
think it was
with a dude doing it mid-swing, I think.
Yeah, normally I feel like it doesn't checkpoint things like that, like enemy attacks. But I think maybe because it was a Hinox,
because I was just so close to it, it was
instantly doing an attack because it immediately saw you on it.
Yeah, and it was annoying because it's like. I guess it's not really a glitch. It's a slight sort of polishing issue, I suppose. So if you die and there's like a conversation going on, or the game is rattling through like on-screen notifications for the next section, you've got to wait for those notifications to cycle through before it pops up the "You're dead" menu.
And because the checkpoint was at the start of a new section where those texts tend to happen.
Yep. So I would die immediately, and then we'd have to wait for this conversation to play. Yeah, it's still a stupid ass game, but like but I know I kind of love the challenge. Like it's the reason to play it more than anything. Like it can get grindy and it can get a bit. I think it's getting to the stage where I feel like it's getting a little repetitive. But they do keep throwing little carrots at you every now and then just to be like, keep going. No, we've got some new stuff coming. Keep going. No, there's something else you might be interested in.
Yeah, I mean, even
it just keeps happening.
Even after this last story mission, it's like, oh, there's some more of those special map icons. I mean, they're not particularly interesting in this case. So it's just like, oh, you can see treasure maps on the treasure chests on the mini map.
Yeah.
But it is still like there are still those kind of actual functional like modifications of the game still, like we said last time, where it's like, oh, we can level the weapons up another 10 levels now.
Yeah. It just keeps expanding. Good on you, Hyrule.
It's amazing how much that, not like a AAA game necessarily, but has hold you guys with enough content and
it's a drip feed of new stuff that's just it just keeps you hooked. Like it feels clinical, in its execution. It's like it's just enough, just often enough,
right? Just to keep you hooked.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, I know what they're doing.
Muso's a hell of a drug. Yeah, they of course they don't. They've made the same game for like 20 years.
Like this is technically like the 12th iteration of this formula. So they're probably pretty good at it.
Probably more than that. Yeah, God knows how. Don't even know when the first Dynasty Warriors was, and even if that was the first,
I mean, I know there's been 9 of them that have been called Dynasty Warriors.
Oh yeah, but there's been plenty of like variants of them. Just even within their own damn IP, there's like a billion spin-offs.
Well, if it ain't broke, then make a Zelda skin for it.
Or a Fire Emblem skin.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Or I don't know, was Persona Strikers one as well? I get a bit confused by that one.
Technically, but
yeah.
I don't know how that seemed like it was more modified.
Yeah. Was that quite the same thing?
So what other franchise would you want for a Dynasty Warriors game?
I'm trying to think more that what's been done, because there are loads that have had one. I think One Piece has had one.
Well, that makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. Really, like you need something. I mean, I guess any open worldy game you could make work in some, or any anime game. You could make Valkyria Chronicles probably work in some bizarre way.
Maybe. I don't think projectile weapons do very well in that,
maybe not.
format, though.
They're not quite expressive enough. But you could obviously do a Final Fantasy one like easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Man, you could probably even do like a Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle one. Like, I don't know why I thought of that, because I thought just bringing in even more weirdness into it, but like, or a Paper Mario one.
Well, yeah, Paper Mario makes sense because they already have hordes of enemies
in
their paper form.
Super Smash Muso. Just fighting hordes of little master hands. Or any enemy from Nintendo ever.
Right, is that you then, Zeg? And Rob, you've been playing Dynasty Warriors. What else?
Yeah, I've not been playing a huge amount else. Mostly playing Immortals, Phoenix Rising, keeping up with that. I'm beginning to think that game is too big. I'm about 20 hours in, and it's not. I don't think it's mixing things up enough. You know, we literally just talked about the drip feed of Hyrule Warriors, of there being just enough to keep me interested, and it's like I'm starting to feel a bit of fatigue with Phoenix Rising. It's like it's not, and I think part of that is because I've just always got that voice in the back of my head going, "This is a bit like Breath of the Wild, but I know it's not as good as Breath of the Wild. It's just not as interesting. It's not as surprising. It's like everything is serviceable. Like it's hard to say that there's much bad about it. But there's not much that I would go, so that's amazing about it. It ticks the boxes for the sort of content you should have in one of those games, but it's just not nearly as deep as Breath of the Wild. Not even close.
Yeah. I mean, by ripping it off so much, you're inviting comparison with one of the best.
Absolutely, yeah. And there's no real. I mean, I guess there isn't too much of a flow of story in Breath of the Wild, particularly because of its setting. But it's like it's all like there's effectively like a god of each area of the map that you're trying to help out. So you go help there and you do their thing and you hear their little story, but it's all disconnected from everything. Kinda. It's like and the variety of puzzles is a bit weak. Like, oh, there's pressure pads on the floor, right? So I need a certain weight on this pressure pad. Okay, let's go do that. How do I get the block? Or there'll be a block hidden somewhere. Okay, how is that block hidden somewhere? Oh, it's up behind a wall. Okay, great. Oh, it's behind some sort of light physicsy puzzle where I need to drag something with my special power through a grate until I can get it to a hole so I can get at it. Or a block puzzle, a slide puzzle, I should say. Let's do a slide puzzle, yay. And then, let's do another slide puzzle, but this time with death lasers around it. It's like...
We've come so far since Ocarina of Time.
Grecian death lasers. Yeah, well, Ocarina only does that once.
I guess, yeah.
I've done like 5 of these things now. They're never particularly complicated, but they like try to do something environmental to make it a little awkward. Like you'll need to unlock the ability to move one of the pieces or something by doing some other simple puzzles in the area. And I would say the combat is a little more character action in a weird way. Like when we go back to playing Hyrule Warriors, I have a slight problem for the first few minutes of the game where I'm pressing the wrong dodge button. I'm pressing the dodge button from Immortals instead of the dodge button from Hyrule Warriors, because it's like there are actually quite a few similarities in how that thing controls. So maybe that's part of the problem as well. Maybe I played 2 games where the combat feels a little too similar. It's not like there's hordes of enemies you're fighting against, but... So yeah, I don't know. I was talking to someone else I know who's played it, and I think they got to about the same point I'm at before they bounced off. So maybe this fatigue is actually a core problem with the game. That they just went too big.
Well, they went too big in the Ubisoft way.
Yeah, in the Ubisoft way. Yeah,
filled it with too much bland, slightly too bland.
Yeah, slightly. That's the word.
Yeah.
there's I mean, it's like I didn't talk about this before, but in a weird way, like one of the most off-putting things is the Ubisoftification of this whole thing. Because like when it launches, like because it's like so a long time after it originally launched, like you load it up and it's immediately trying to sell you DLC, like in game.
Right.
Like it's immediately going like, oh, you should get these other, like why don't you get the season pass? And I'm like, no, I don't know if I like the game yet.
Yeah.
Like I've never played this before. Why are you expecting me to opt into the season pass now? I know that's a very Ubisoft thing to do, to like pre-order the game now to get Aiden Pierce's iconic hat. You know, that kind of nonsense. But yeah, it's like if you go to the pause menu, there's always like a sidebar of like, oh, you could buy this other stuff with real money for the game, and it's like, no.
No.
It's it's got a little too much of that. There's like even in the in-game menu, you know, your inventory screen or whatever, there's a button to go to the real store, and it's like no. It's like it's always reminding me of like the Forza 5 era. Press Y to spend money. So yeah, it's all right. I'm plowing on. I'm still going for now. It's still okay. It's had a little bit of a new lease of life since I figured out that how I get surround sound working on my old amp, like without having to replace it. Like I was just doing it wrong. I just had it connected wrong, and I put up with it for a couple of years from my Series X, and it's like I was just a moron, as it turns out. Or my TV wasn't doing something, or something updated. I have absolutely no idea what I did wrong. But yeah, something is now good. So I've got surround sound, and it's like, ooh, this is exciting.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's like it's adding a little something to it. So there's that. And the other thing I played during the dark times at my brother's house.
Dark time.
Four of us sat down to play Brunch Club.
Never heard of it.
So Brunch Club is a stupid physics. Okay, are you familiar with I Am Bread? Even just like at a cursory level.
No.
Where you're a piece of bread basically, and it's a sort of physicsy. Yeah. It's in the same vein as sort of like the Surgeon Simulator sort of games, right?
Yeah,
Where you're sort of you're battling physics to get a job done.
Yeah.
So this is that, except the idea is to cook food. And 4 people, you start with a cursor and you pick an item that you want to move, and then you try and move that item around, except it like pivots on like one end of the food really awkwardly, and you're having to fight physics to get it to move around, and you have the pansiest ass jump in the world to try and help jiggle you along. And yeah, it's a physics insanity game. That's what it's going for, and it's fine. It's really hard, actually. Like it's super difficult to do some of the challenges. Like the first level is one of the hardest because it's such a pain in the ass to get a piece of toast up the side of a toaster to get it in the toaster. Except the toaster is magical as well, because it seems to like when it pops, like the entire table pops, not just the toaster. And also it seems like it's got the table has 2 states that it flipped between when the toaster popped. Like the tablecloth would change from red to blue, and some of the items would move into different locations. It was weird. We didn't really understand what was going on, but it was really difficult to just butter, toast and butter 5 slices of toast in the time limit. And that's with 4 people trying to work all the implements.
Butter this toast.
Yeah. The hardest level was the sashimi level, the sushi level, because it basically then it turned into a little bit more like Overcooked. So you're picking up rice balls and rolling them over ingredients to try and make the current order. And the rice ball only counts if the current order is met. But the conveyor belts went to nowhere, and there's plenty of holes around. And of course, you're battling these rice balls covered in crap, rolling them around, trying to avoid the holes, and you use a life every time you lose a rice ball down a hole. So like the time limit was hard. Getting your balls done before an order disappeared was hard. So most of the time we would just die. And then we kind of came across a flaw in that level's design, in that we met the target, and then lost all our lives, and it said you failed, and it's like,
Oh,
son of a bitch, but we met the target. So what we did the next time was just like get the target and then leave everyone in a safe place and let the remaining 2 minutes on the timer run down, and it goes, yeah, you're good. And it's like, okay, that's less well designed.
Yeah, that's not so good.
But hey, Kipper said he picked this up for like less than £1, so we weren't complaining that much. It was a bit of a laugh. Yeah, it got us through the dark times. So thank you, Brunch Club. And I think that's pretty much me. Yeah, not been too adventurous these last 2 weeks.
Well, I hope you have power for the next 2 weeks.
Well, yeah, I need to come up with a new theme tune.
Oh,
because we're season 12, I think it is coming to an end.
It's time to get creative. What's the genre of music going to be for 2022?
Yeah, I don't really know. I might go old school jungle.
Jungle.
Break out the Amen break.
Why not? Yeah, that could be a good one. Well, you'll have that to look forward to, listeners, at some point for the next season.
Cheesy detuned super saws or something. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Maybe someone going like one of those weird old school like tracker samples that used to be in everything, like just going "Let's go" in the background, you know.
Yeah, throw back to the tracker days.
Yeah. Oh, does that mean I need to rip your trousers section? Like with some like horrible synth.
I don't know if you can get that into our.
I'm not even sure how I'd make that on a proper synth.
Well, that's a challenge. Maybe.
It's such a.
Is there like a VST that actually has like a tracker player in it that you can?
I've always wondered that. No, I don't think they do that. Like because sometimes the way trackers muck around with samples would have been it would be an easier flow to how like modern DAWs tend to work with samples. There's things trackers can do that are still kind of neat. Just because of how they're designed, just how they're laid out and things like that.
Yeah.
It's
easier to get to.
Yeah. But yeah, not really. It's, yeah.
Cool. Well, listeners, you got that to look forward to. You've also got our YouTube channel to look at, which has a bunch of Ocarina of Time on it at the moment, which is a good one, and various other stuff in the archives. And then there's this here podcast.
That there podcast.
Yeah, which hope you enjoyed this one. There'll be another one in a couple of weeks. So tune in for that. And we'll catch you then.
Whoop, whoop.
Bye.